Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 92. We are back in the basement to talk about another week's worth of wrestling. I'm your host, and with me, as always, my co-host, and conveniently enough, teenage son, Jack. Say hello.
Hi. Wait, how's that convenient?
I don't know. It's convenient because you live in the same house as me, and we watch wrestling together, and I can just drag you down here
easily
after your breakfast and make you talk about wrestling for a couple hours with me, which we plan on doing.
It is forced, yes.
It is forced, yeah, absolutely.
The whole time.
I just chain you to the little table in this studio for a couple hours.
I assume you have a sniper somewhere, right? I just
obviously.
pointed at my head.
At the high ground, for sure.
Exactly.
Yep. So I think we're going to make a quick change this week, right? We did not cover NXT UK.
Right. It took a while to get to Dynamite, so we kind of threw in Rampage.
We watched Rampage last night instead, so we'll talk about that in the normal NXT UK spot. I was motivated to watch Rampage because of Cole Ishii, right? Because I love Ishii, so that's really what I was hoping to check out.
I was into it for Cargill and Marion Shafir.
Obviously, how could you not? Or Archer Serpentico was also
that's what I meant
a barn burner.
Right? What was the other match? Oh, there was
there was technically 4 matches on there.
There was a third match. Kingston Garcia.
That's
there
right.
We go.
So yeah, we'll be covering that as well. But this is banter section. So what do you want to banter about?
I don't know. I'm going to the mall tomorrow. I guess you're doing stuff.
You're going to the mall with your buddies tomorrow?
Okay, church group.
How are you getting there?
I think I'm getting picked up.
Your church group, you're calling it because you're going on a Sunday?
Yeah.
So the mall is your church?
Yes.
You blasphemous child.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm excited because I'm recording this, and then I'm heading out to some of my oldest friends in the world, heading out to their place for a little bit of a get together, and I'm not taking any children with me, so that could be a fun time.
You refer to me as a child,
right? Oh, sorry, young man, teenager, whatever. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I got a close to a couple-hour drive, but I haven't seen Foxy and Bax's new place yet, so I'm excited to check that out.
It's not where we were. With Takeover, right? Where was it?
Oh, downtown. No, they moved. They Bax sold the place downtown and moved kind of out into the boonies, similar to the Coots'. So. I'm going to be checking out their place, and then we're going to go back there in the summer because I think he's got like a basketball court and some cool stuff. So we'll go, and a cool dog from what I hear. I haven't met him yet, but so I'm really looking forward to that, seeing some people I don't see too often, especially when there's a global pandemic for a couple of years, right? So that should be fun. Other than that, you guys are going to have you love the house to yourself because your brother has some basketball tryouts. His summer league starting.
What to do?
He made his school basketball team as well. No surprise there, I guess.
I don't even know if they have a basketball
team.
They
did. Luckily enough, they are running basketball for him. So he had tryouts this week and made the team. First name on the list, he told me. Which, I mean, they should go alphabetical, really, so that situation doesn't happen. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to banter about? Anything exciting going on in life? No, your badminton season is done?
Yeah, that's done. You can call it a season.
You did well. Yeah, there was not as many people signing up for school sports in our area.
Probably made it there by default.
Not really. You beat some people along the way.
We beat 2 low teams and then got a bye because another school didn't have any.
And then when it merged with the southern parts of our region where people take badminton a lot seriously, there was a big uptick in skill level, right? Yeah. But hey, you just keep playing. I'll get you out there. I'll work with you. We'll get you good. But anyways, yeah, so that's our update from our household, I guess, which may or may not be interesting to anybody. Because I listen to some podcasts where I'm like, oh my God, they banter for like 15, 20 minutes and I end up skipping it. So ours is just a little taste of what's going on in our life.
That would be like a long one for us. Even like a little below that is long for us.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 minutes is a lot for us. So
yeah.
It's standard. So, which we're approaching. So I don't know. Do you want to start talking about some wrestling?
Sounds good.
All right. So let's move into talking about some of the week's wrestling news and rumors. So taking a look at the week's ratings, we've got this week's live edition of NXT 2.0 drew 569,000 viewers, down 6.72% from last week, earned a 0.12 rating in that key 18 to 49 demographic, which is the exact same as last week. So this was the second lowest audience on USA Network so far this year. But again, I feel like the ratings are kind of holding pretty steady for both. We only look at NXT and AEW Dynamite, and it seems that they're holding pretty steady. Like it's never more than a few percent shift the last few weeks, it feels like. And that is true for Dynamite this week as well. They drew 930,000 viewers, which is down 4.81%, and earned a 0.37 in the 18 to 49 demo, which was the same as last week. And to be fair, for both of those nights, I believe there are as I can attest because I'm watching almost all of it, the NBA playoffs are
Yeah, apparently the Battle of the Bells 2 ratings were like
not
pretty
great.
low, just because I think because of that.
Yes, NBA
Due in large
playoffs
part.
are in the infancy, so that means there's like 3 games every night, right? So that's going to hurt the ratings a little bit, but pretty much holding steady. So I guess it could be worse. What do you have for us?
And so Tony Khan's big announcement delivered yet again with AEW announcing a joint pay-per-view with New
Yes.
Japan Pro Wrestling June 26th, Forbidden Door. I think it's in like Chicago.
I'm pretty pumped for
So
that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. I think that's cool. And so like what to expect for the booking for this? You should expect it to be unlike the ROH New Japan G1 Supercard that they did. I think it was Mania Weekend 2019.
Yeah, in what
Because
way?
that was largely like ROH matches, New
Yes.
Japan matches.
Yeah.
This
is a mixture.
This is like it's likely to be AEW versus New Japan matches. So that is good because I think that's what everyone would want out of this.
Yeah,
right?
and I've sort of fallen behind in my New Japan, and I don't think it's peak New Japan right now, but there's still
like the stars are there.
Yeah,
right?
there's awesome talent there. So
I don't think it has to be like completely that because you could have like if there's like because I know they're building like I guess it's still way down the road, but for example, Hangman Punk seems to be teased. So like if they wanted that title match, you could do that, and then although they'd probably want Hangman versus Okada or something.
Yeah.
But like I mean, if there's like a storyline that you want to do, you could still do like an AEW match then just have it amongst these AEW New Japan matches.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It might get me and both of us sort of more interested in New Japan, right? Because I've got room to ditch NXT 2.0 and watch something else. So if we get intrigued by New Japan, if it gets to being really interesting, we might have a spot for that. But yeah, that's
sure.
we will definitely be watching that show for sure, and probably we'll talk about it as well, I would imagine.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. I wonder if you could get it on like order on TV. I guess
I'm pretty sure I can get it where I usually.
So I guess we could do that. Then.
Yeah, I usually pay for all AEW pay-per-views.
One, so.
Right, exactly. I don't know if this is more rumor, I guess, because it seems to be possibly storyline related, but Mackenzie Mitchell spoke with a disappointed grizzled young veterans. Actually, I guess I shouldn't call them that anymore. Drake and Gibson. We'll get to that.
I even checked on the website. They haven't actually changed
it
the
yet.
names yet.
They will.
I was like,
She asked about their frustration, and Gibson basically said, I think we're a bit past frustration. Honestly, I'm embarrassed. How long have we been saying soon now? We left our family and friends during a pandemic to move across the world to become champions and to be the team that we knew we could be. Well, you just watched. It's not exactly going to plan, is it? So I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm going home. So because WWE put this out, I don't think it means they're being released or leaving or anything, but I'm wondering if we were talking about it before we recorded, maybe heading back to NXT UK as like almost a swap, right? We picked up Pretty Deadly and they could send these guys back.
Elton Prince and Kit, whatever his last name is.
It's what is it? Wilson, I think.
Kit Wilson, I think.
And it's funny because you say that because remember my problem was I couldn't remember their names in NXT UK even though we watch them every week. I still forget their names. Their new NXT names, I'm no better. I forget what they are and I forget which one is which. So
Elton Prince is the blonde one.
He is, and
Kit Wilson is the brunette one.
I had to go back and change my notes from last week because I had them reversed. Or is it this week? This week, actually, I had to go back and
Elton
reverse
Prince is Lewis Howley, I think it was,
right.
And then Sam Stoker.
Yes.
Kit Wilson.
Yes, so forgettable names for me. Somehow I have a bit of a block for them, but I
feel like the old names are at least better because Sam Stoker, that's like I don't know, it's like alliteration. I feel like that's at least like it rolls off the tongue, so I feel like you could easily like say that. I feel like Kit Wilson, Elton Prince is just like
Prince feels like they wanted to combine like Elton John and Prince, like they wanted to take two celebrity names and smash them together.
Those sound unnatural.
Yeah, I mean I like Grizzled Young Veterans and so do you, and they're definitely not going to be used to their full capacity in NXT 2.0.
I still remember that first match I saw him in, like at the first UK
Yeah, you love James Drake on that one, right?
Yeah, James Drake's sick.
So if they go back to UK, I'm okay with it because we watch it. It's not great for their profile probably because I don't know how many people actually watch it, but they would probably get a better position in that company than over in America. So we'll see what happens.
I think it'd suck if he was Drake because he's just Drake and that's kind of...
Yeah.
I think that might be why they went. He's just James.
They're just Drake and Gibson now.
Yeah, like he's just Drake now. Like I don't know. Or maybe I guess like they could change the tag name and keep their full names when they're referred to as solos. But
Yeah.
Like,
And maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just like they're going to be off NXT TV for a while and then come back repackaged or something, right? So who knows? But I didn't find a lot of news, so I included that as sort of a rumor in there. What else do you have?
so I saw a thing about Cross and Scarlett. They
Oh
got
boy.
married on a glacier.
They did. I saw that too. Isn't that lovely?
That's.
It just, and I
I'm
mean,
just confused.
whatever, good for them if that's what they want to do, but it feels like that's one of those things where you're trying really hard to get attention and get some good content to put out, right? And maybe that's not the case at all, but for me being cynical human being and not being a big fan of them, I'm just like, ugh, could you try any harder to do something cool and get attention for it, you know?
It seems weird and unnecessary and also stupid and
But good for them if they honestly wanted to do it and loved it and it was for different reasons than I think it was, then good for them, I guess. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, that's just, I don't. That's weird, and that is honestly the state of our news this week.
It's not a busy week. Unfortunate news. Top Flight's Darius Martin is reportedly injured again, right? So he just came back
Injury prone. Come on.
Came back from a lengthy injury, right? Looked really good in what we saw him in one match, I think on Dynamite.
Like a few. There was the Casino Royale. And there was a one or two after, I think.
And he looked good, but apparently Fightful Select is saying that he suffered a leg injury.
I kind of figured as soon as I saw that Dante Martin was on his own in that trios match. I was like, Darius is injured again, isn't he?
And he just got back. So there is no specific time frame, but it was noted that he's expected to miss another lengthy period of time. So that's too bad. Really young guy with a lot of potential, hurt twice, like consecutively.
Yeah, and then maybe Dante Martin gets bigger again and he's left in the dust.
That is what happened, right? You could see that Dante's star started to rise. He had some really good matches against some quality opponents. So yeah, that might continue. Mm-hmm. I only have one more news story, so you go ahead.
I have a couple more. One of them I don't really care about, but
it was a late week, man. There was not a lot of fascinating
an interesting
stuff.
Owen Hart qualifier for next week's FTR will face each other.
Yes, I'm really excited for that.
I am very interested in that. I feel like Dax kind of has to win that.
I do too.
No disrespect to Cash, but I feel like Dax has had some good singles outings before. Yes. I think he's definitely the superior one here. Yes. I think I think they should all just stay together. I don't think they ever need to break up. But if they're going singles, I think it's definitely Dax who's more fleshed out.
And I think there's nothing wrong with two tag team partners like trying to just kill each other during the match and then being fine afterwards, right? There's no reason to tease any.
Like FTR, like it makes sense for FTR.
And they're so hot right now, right? There's no way you want to tease them.
I think it is an interesting way to capitalize on that, but I think it works.
And I agree that Dax should get the win because he's had singles matches and looked amazing in those matches, so it'd be a nice little reward for him.
Yeah, they are the kind of team to do this, right? I feel like when WWE does that, it's kind of stupid. Like I remember Rollins and Strowman won the tag titles, and it's not like single stars are winning the tag titles and then they face off, or like the only time I remember them doing that where it wasn't like champion and challenger winning the tag titles is I remember playing the 2K showcase and it was Austin and Michaels in like 97 maybe, and they were just kind of like it was enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing against the Hart Foundation, and so they won the tag titles and they faced off at King of the Ring, I think it was.
But yeah, this is like a legit
2K showcase,
a legit tag team sort of, and
I think it makes sense for them. Like I don't see this realistically happening with anyone else, and I think it also makes sense because Owen Hart was just a tag team guy.
Exactly. Well, and their love of Bret Hart, and I think the Hart family is a legitimate thing, right? So for them,
I've seen it going around that Bret might have quietly signed with WWE again.
Oh,
which
really?
I think is kind of interesting.
The timing's interesting, right? Because all the rumors and sort of like little breadcrumbs, as we say, of him arriving, that they might have snapped them back up if they could have, right? But yeah, I mean, out of respect for the tournament and the Hart family, I'm sure these two guys are going to tear the house down. At least that's what I'm hoping for. My last one, during his recent appearance on, I guess, the Battleground podcast, I don't know that one, Josh Alexander sort of talked about why he chose to re-sign with Impact Wrestling rather than pursuing an AEW contract. To paraphrase, he basically said that kind of, and I think this makes sense, that AEW has just signed so many people that like opportunities might be hard to come by, and that AEW seemed only to have interest in him as a tag team wrestler with Ethan Page. And sort of like Impact is the place that gave him
sick.
I know. Impact is the place that gave him his shot, and they've been sort of loyal to him, and they are committed to making him a single star. So all of those,
do the North, I would totally do the North.
All of those things make sense. So I mean, that's not surprising to hear that, but that is what he said. Yes, I love the North.
Like
don't
if
get me wrong.
I could get like the AEW stuff figures, like I really want Impact to be able to get a deal with Jazzwares too, because like the whole kind of partnership thing.
Yeah.
And then you get Impact figures in that style, because like I don't like Super 7, they make New Japan figures. They did like Ultimates for Cardona and Myers.
Right.
They just look kind of weird. But like you did AEW stuff, like if I could get both of the North, I would do the North.
The North are cool, but I understand him wanting to be a singles wrestler, right? Like
Especially after he has been now.
Most wrestlers do. So yeah, I just thought that all of that sort of was under the story checks out category for me. That's it for me.
Only other thing is Becky Lynch is gonna return on Raw. So
I did see that.
That's cool.
And what an amazing week of news. Eh? It was like I was honestly checking since like Thursday every day, just seeing what there was, and there was really not anything of interest.
I checked today and I kind of kept scrolling back, and there's just nothing. A lot.
So that's it for us in a week of lackluster wrestling news, and we'll move into a more in-depth review of this week's episode of AEW Dynamite.
And CM Punk is kicking us off again for some reason.
He is, indeed.
And he's facing, for some reason, Dustin Rhodes.
He is.
Wearing a light blue lot. So that was different. And he's got like a Texas flag deal.
Of course.
So because Rhodes. That is why.
What?
Because his family.
Yes, that is true.
Mm-hmm. There's a botched bow and arrow stretch, which I thought was funny because, like, how do you botch a bow and arrow? Couldn't get him on for some reason.
It was like he was out of balance. There was too much weight on the head and shoulder side, and he just sort of collapsed that way, sort of thing. It was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know how you botched that, and then Punk tries to cover it up by like pinning him off.
Yes.
So that was kind of funny.
And I had a note because this started out pretty slowly, right? I think due to how long it ended up being, which was a bit of a surprise. But my note here was that commentary are trying really hard to justify Dustin doing nothing of consequence for the first few minutes. Because he was basically just hitting a bunch of arm drags and basic stuff, and they were trying to make it like that's his strategy because CM Punk expects him to come in and do all this stuff, so he's just keeping it simple. And I was like, no, I think it's probably just.
This is what he expects.
They're resting up for a lengthy match. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of leg targeting by Punk.
There was.
Arm wrench. So Rhodes, like, arm wrenched on Punk. He yanked him down on the apron, which is kind of cool.
It looked cool. It's so simple, but it looked really good.
Mm-hmm. There was a bit of a flurry by Rhodes and the crowd count punches. It's a drop down uppercut and the scoop slam for 2. Figure 4 by Punk. Strike exchange with the hold on later on. Crossroads and a pile driver by Rhodes for 2.
Yeah, that was a nice near fall
WWE
spot.
move.
Yep.
That's illegal.
But a good near fall spot, I thought.
Punk goes for a GTS, but his arm, I think, his arm gives out.
Yes.
Rhodes attempts a sunset flip. Punk sits down on the pin to get the win. After, when Punk's walking up the ramp, Hangman comes out. They have a moment where they kind of stare down for a sec.
Right, to let us know that that's the next.
Which, I mean, I saw like one channel did a YouTube poll like on like a community tab.
Yeah.
I mean, like most people think that Punk should win that. And I'm just like,
I don't think he should, but I think he might. It's possible. I don't think he should.
I don't think he will. I think they're smarter than that.
I hope so. Yeah, this match got a lot of time. It went like 17 minutes. It's a really different pace from most Dynamite openers, right? Usually there's lots of energy and spots, and this was more a lot of limb targeting by Punk and some selling by Dustin. I did like Punk's relentless attack of Rhodes' leg, and the story of Dustin trying to overcome that was fine. I wasn't impressed by the first few minutes. I thought it was really slow, but by the end of this, I did think it was a good match. I'm not sure it needed 17 minutes. Very different from a lot of crazy Dynamite openers, but a good match nonetheless. I guess if I'm going to nitpick it a little bit, this is your now number 1 contender for the main belt, right? Struggling to defeat a 50-plus-year-old Dustin Rhodes. He couldn't even win it with his finisher, which is a compliment to Dustin Rhodes, I guess. But when it's not the strongest look for Punk, right, going into a match against Page. But I thought the interaction between Page and Punk was really simple and effective afterwards. Like, Page just came out and they sort of looked at each other, right? But that part worked. So yeah, I like the match. I just don't know how strong it makes Punk look going into a title program, right?
Yeah, that's one of my things I'll kind of get to. It was fine. Another Punk opener is kind of odd. Wasn't bad, just it was definitely a Dustin Rhodes match.
Yeah, I liked it. I actually liked it. It was just the pace was different from a lot of openers, right?
Did like it, but I didn't really love it. He's good for his age, I think. It's just really starting to show in some parts now, and like it was a solid effort. He had some good moves, but one thing was when he was doing the Dusty Rhodes strikes, you could totally see him slapping his own chest to get the sound.
I noticed that too.
I only note that because it was super obvious, but I've also never noticed anyone doing that for strikes before. Because obviously they do that, but I've never like blatantly noticed it.
I think the camera angle was perfect to catch it too.
And never noticed that before because thigh slaps are more commonly known and easier to spot, I feel like. But anyways, it also ran a little long, and I had like a hotter match for an opener. It was fine, like it was good, just a bit slow at times, and overstayed its welcome for sure. The finish was fine, but not a huge fan. 'Cause I don't think, like you said, it doesn't make Punk look the best. They had to win by countering a pin on Rhodes,
right?
Instead of being able to hit a GTS,
right?
Like sure, it's a feather in the cap for Dustin Rhodes, but
that's not who we're building here.
That doesn't matter.
Right. We're supposed to be building Punk as a viable opponent for Hangman Page, right?
Exactly.
Not adding anything to Dustin Rhodes.
Not having him barely get by Dustin Rhodes.
I agree.
Next, Wardlow arrives. Basically, Sterling arrives with security and explains that they'll be escorting, not extorting Wardlow.
Hopefully not.
They'll be escorting Wardlow everywhere, and he'll have to wear handcuffs up until the match and immediately after he's done. I thought it was fine before the match. I think it's kind of amusing that MJF will make him wear handcuffs everywhere, but it kind of makes sense, I guess.
So why does MJF have this power? Just because Wardlow works for him?
Contract, I guess.
And he doesn't work for AEW?
I wonder if we've ever seen Wardlow's All Elite.
Like, I'm a little confused. Like, I thought Wardlow sounded really comfortable here, and it's a quick way to get him on the show for the first time, because I'm assuming at this point it's going to be more times than this, and he has a match. So I'm just like, why the handcuffs? Just because I guess because MJF says so. Like, I don't, this whole like you don't work for AEW thing, you work for me. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused by it, but it's fine. They're building a monster in Wardlow. It's working, so I shouldn't be too critical. But yeah, so this was fine.
Mm-hmm. Next we get Blackpool Combat Club against Dante Martin solo again.
Yep.
Lee Moriarty and
good old Brock
Anderson.
Brock Anderson.
Hell yeah, love Brock Anderson. Typical fashion, Blackpool Combat Club attack right away. There's a half and half suplex to Anderson by Mox. He drapes Anderson over the ropes with a suplex drop, and then Danielson follows with a diving knee drop to the back of the head. Hot take flurry from Moriarty, which was kind of solid, actually.
I liked it.
Mox counters the nosedive from Martin into a sleeper, moves that into a bulldog choke, and Moriarty tries to kick him off to no avail. Both Mox and Yuta do like the rapid elbow to the jaw on their respective guys, and then Danielson is doing the thing where he kicks the guy's head in, and then paradigm shift to Dante Martin ends it.
Yeah, I liked this match. I liked that Yuta looked vicious at the beginning of the match, because I think they've done a good job of showing that he can take punishment, right, in that match with Moxley, and now he needs to show that he's embracing the violence and that that's kind of what he's getting out of this mentorship by these guys, that he gets more violent and things, so I like that. I thought Moriarty looked great in the part he had with Danielson there. That might have been the hot tag you were referring to.
Yeah, probably.
Thought that looked really good. So enjoyment-wise, I thought this match was really fun with the young guys, especially Moriarty and Martin. Not so much.
They could have done better with Lee Johnson's even better.
I think they're just inching Anderson along, right? He didn't get a lot of time in this match.
I remember he hit a spine buster, and even then it was like, do better.
Yeah. So enjoyment-wise, I liked it, but storyline-wise, I liked it less just because...
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I thought you have this new dominant ultra-violent faction, and they like struggled at times with a young trio that don't work together, right? Like,
I guess you could go like they're still a fresh unit, but to be fair, so are the young guys.
Yeah.
Like,
and the young guys, it's great because they got to look really good in this, but the Blackpool Combat Club for me should be more dominant. Like, if the finish was dominant, like they're all beating the hell out of each of the members, but I thought
more of that.
The young guys got a lot of offense in this.
It's kind of like the opener where it's like Rhodes got a bunch of them. Like the finish kind of makes him look a little better, but he's not the one you should be focusing on.
Right.
So I feel like this is kind of similar, where like the match kind of makes them look a little better, but you shouldn't be worrying about that.
Yeah, it's kind of so I enjoyed it, but storyline wise, I was like, is this the right move? And that's AEW. They tend to want everybody to look kind of good, right? And I get that.
Yeah, but I think there's times where you just got to pull a Kenny Omega versus Sonny Kiss thing.
Agree. Yep. So I like the match, but yeah, I had some questions about
that's funny
how much they got.
Yeah, it was a solid enhancement match. Blackpool Combat Club were on the back burner a bit too much, like you said. Solid showings from Moriarty and Martin, though. Fine exhibition for Blackpool Combat Club. Just need more dominance here, I think. I like their logo. Like, it's kind of like
it looked good.
A New World Order kind of looking logo, but it's like in blood. It's like an NWO logo, air quotes, ripoff shirt that I actually like.
Yeah.
Like, it's like in that style, but I think it's actually like a cool way to interpret it. Whereas, like, I think WWE, like, they did like a New Day Wolfpack looking one.
Yeah.
Or like Legado del Fantasma instead of LWO. Like, those are fine and all, but it's just not, there's not like, I feel like this one's actually kind of creative.
Yep. I
like that. I thought
Pretty
Yuta's
simple.
ring gear was really cool. Had that logo on it. It was white tights, which I think is new for him. So I thought he looked kind of cool too, actually.
Nice.
Next we got the Undisputed Elite and the Young Bucks. I'm not including them in the Undisputed Elite. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
Kyle O'Reilly says they may not see eye to eye, but they've all lost a bunch recently, unfortunately.
They have.
That's pretty depressing.
Yeah. It's a good point.
I don't like that. But they are the Undisputed Elite and the Young Bucks, and they need to turn it around. And he says he'll qualify for the Owen Hart Cup by beating Jungle Boy's ass. In fact, he will, and beating his back too. Cole says the Bucks' friends are all gone, and Cole is still here, and Redragon are here, and as a functioning unit that can't be stopped, he puts up they should put a 10-man tag open challenge next week. And he leaves saying is something to sort out, which we'll see in a bit. And the 10-man tag is, I think, the 3 guys from the Blackpool Combat Club match.
It was.
And 2 other guys, I don't remember.
Me either. There's a bunch of kind of a mishmash of people.
Kind of like this week, except you're adding 2 more.
So yeah, I mean, this was a fine little segment, but I always notice, like, when Kyle O'Reilly speaks first and then Cole speaks, the contrast is almost overwhelming, right? Because Kyle never really sounds fully comfortable when he's speaking, and then Adam Cole sounds like he's just a professional actor and does a great job, right?
Cole is awesome. Like, I don't know, I just love Cole.
He is a fantastic all around, like, professional wrestler, right? He can do everything. He doesn't
win their title someday, I'm gonna be very
other
sad.
than being a humongous power guy. I guess that'd be the only thing some people would say he's missing. But
I don't even think he needs that.
This group is on a losing streak and not happy about it, and then they've got the tension within the faction, so this makes sense. I thought this was a solid segment. Nothing special, but it kept my interest for sure.
I need Redragon versus Young Bucks at some point.
Yep. We will. That's I'm sure a slow build to that.
Mm-hmm. This was solid, but they're really trying their hardest to drive home the faction name. I think I like the name. It's like a way to combine the whole elite thing that they always do, but also kind of a nod to their NXT roots. I like it. They just said it way too much here, just like to the point where it's like, who talks like that?
Right, because it wasn't a lengthy segment, and they worked it in there a few times,
at least
right?
5 times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board for this unit getting together or feuding, but as long as Cole sticks with Red Dragon, I think he should. I think if they feud, he should stick with Red Dragon because I think the Bucks are better on their own.
Yes,
I feel like they can sustain themselves way better because like Cole can speak where Red Dragon can't sometimes,
right.
And I feel like Bucks will be fine on their own. And then also whenever Kenny comes back around, or Jay White, I guess. Well, Jay White's in the mix, I guess.
Kenny could bring Callis with him, who can speak for anyone, anytime. Right.
And so yeah, you could do that, and so I think the Bucks definitely need to like not take Cole.
It does need to get moving at some point, right?
We seem to be getting a lot of Double or Nothing or Forbidden Door, I guess. I'm not sure if they want to do that.
It seems to be a lot of these segments where they talk and there's tension, and then it comes back to it next week, sort of thing.
I like the idea of the open challenge next week. Easy way to stick like a fun multi-man tag on next week's show, like a big one.
Yep.
Would make for a good opener instead of another one with CM Punk. To be fair, Punk could very well end up in that match anyways. I like just if he was on the other side, but it doesn't seem like that would be the case. I could be reading into it too much, but I thought it was interesting the way Cole left here. Seems like hinting at something because he had to go for some reason, but since that was disproven literally 2 segments later.
Yes.
Not like that. That's sad.
Didn't go far.
There's a Samoa Joe lethal back and forth thing. I didn't catch much of it, but it was just one of those back and forth style ones. I like Joe's promo. He was solid. I thought Satnam Singh didn't sound great at the end, and I am nearly certain they are incredibly overhyping him. Like, it just seems a lot here. Lethal and Doubt were fine, but as a whole, I'd be more interested in this feud without Satnam Singh, which is the opposite
funny
effect.
You say that because my thoughts are very similar. I thought Lethal Dutt and Joe sounded actually great, and I like the contrast where like Joe's kind of the chill one, right, and the other two are all fired up. But just like what you were just saying, the inclusion of Singh for me is making this less interesting than it could be, right?
It's almost like a turnoff,
and it feels like a WWE thing to me. So, yeah, I don't get what they're doing with this. It feels not something AEW does unless this guy turns out to be an amazing talent of some kind. But so yeah,
but guys of his stature,
he's taking away from the angle and not adding to it. So yeah. So far, I agree. But I thought everybody else was good.
I think it doesn't trend in his favor though, with guys like Kali, Giant Gonzalez.
And I normally am not a big Lethal fan, but I am quite enjoying this heel version of him right now.
I can't get behind it. With Singh there, it's something.
It's tough. It makes it tougher,
and that's a detractor.
It's the exact opposite of what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, rarely do they miss like that, but this is definitely a miss.
So far,
Satnam Singh is. I think this feud is fine. Like I think it works. I think that would be something they could have included when they start Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. I think that maybe like I like it, but I feel like if they start a Ring of Honor show, that's where this should go.
Yeah, that would make more sense, probably.
I don't need Satnam Singh here. I do.
Yeah, so far I'm not impressed, but
understand,
who knows?
Like, have him as a dark thing.
Maybe he has been. I don't know. I don't keep up with the internet shows.
I don't know. They always advertise the cards. So I feel like I would have seen them. Next, we get Tony Khan's major announcement mentioned in the news. He comes out, introduces the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, insert Japanese name here.
Yeah, I forget who it was.
Something.
That's good reporting right there, folks.
Adam Cole cuts it off because
he does.
He can.
Because he's was affiliated with New Japan, I guess, and he does a better job than awkward Tony Khan, right?
And also Japanese
probably
guy.
Whose English may be limited. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like the only time I remember him being in New Japan would have been like as part of the ROH partnership, and I remember because he took the Ring of Honor title from Kyle O'Reilly at Wrestle Kingdom in 2017.
And I was not watching New Japan at that time for the Cole run.
So I think it's kind of odd, but whatever. And he says if anyone should make the announcement, he should. Sure. He says on June 26th, AEW New Japan will present a show titled Forbidden Door. He says on Rampage we'll get a preview when he takes on Tomohiro Ishii in a Owen Hart qualifier. He guarantees one of the Undisputed Era members, Undisputed Elite members, will make it to the finals, which guarantees that the Bucks won't be in the tournament because they're not undisputed.
So are we to believe that Tony Khan confides his announcements in Adam Cole?
when it's related to New Japan.
His big surprise, he takes a slimy heel and lets him in on the secret.
And then it gets even weirder. He says he has a friend who wants to come out, and Jay White is back.
Right.
I forgot he was on AEW.
Yes, it's easy to forget. That's why
I am sad that I forgot that.
I guess that's why they did this.
He beat up Trent Beretta.
He did.
White says it is fitting he is here because last time New Japan held a big joint event, he single-handedly sold it out. Was he at G1 Supercard? I don't
know.
Remember him being there. The only thing I remember from G1 Supercard was Matt Taven winning a ladder match.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Against someone in Skrull. Was it Roosh?
Ugh, Skrull. My disappointment. I really liked him as a performer, apparently.
Oh, yeah, you loved Skrull.
A dirtbag of a human being.
You loved him.
I did. I almost bought some of his merch at some point because he had some cool shirts and stuff out.
Yeah, and you remember he was head booker in ROH for a bit.
Right.
Is he still?
No, he's wrestling has said no thank you to him for good reason.
It isn't about New Japan or AEW. It's about the Undisputed Elite and Bullet Club, and it is still their era.
No, Bullet Club suck, man. They need to freshen up or do something. At least Bullet Club in Impact Wrestling was not interesting to me at all.
Well, that's because of Guerrillas of Destiny. Once you bring in Doc Gallows, it's all good.
Of course. Yeah, so again, I'm not quite sure why Cole did this, but he sounds better than Tony Khan would doing it. And again, we talked about it in the news. So many possible amazing combinations, and Cole Ishii is definitely one of them, so that's what sold me on watching Rampage this week. So if that was their goal, it worked on me. And I guess having Jay White there, it's a good reminder that he is here, he's a heel. And I like that Tony Khan made this not about himself, right? A lot of promoters and whatever would want to take this moment to do this, but he sort of passed it along to Cole.
Yeah, I think that was definitely smart because I think the last announcement was good, but he was awkward, not bad, but no, he just tell not the most comfortable on the mic.
Right.
I think Well, it at least comes across as like very real.
Yeah, he's got like this interesting kind of awkward energy. I don't mind it either. It's fine.
But I think it is definitely smart doing with Cole. I think Cole did well here. I think good way to announce it. I think it's really cool. I am excited for the matches. I think the name works too. I also noticed on the logo they're ripping off Doctor Strange, the sling portals. They're not slick. I see them.
I would never notice that.
Because this is basically wrestling's equivalent of the multiverse.
Yes.
In Marvel.
Right.
So it makes sense, but they're not slick. I like White here. Because Jay White's sick. I hope he's doing something. I don't know what he would do. He would be a New Japan guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bullet Club are just kind of boring right now. They need to do something new and exciting.
Except for Jay White. Jay White's the cool boy there.
I guess.
And Cole versus Ishii was cool. So
it was cool.
Now using past tense.
We'll get to it.
We will. That is true. Next we get a Cargill promo with Kiera Hogan, Red Velvet. Why are they there? Cause
they be baddies.
Black Lives.
I guess. I don't
kind of thing.
It's
like female Hurt Business.
Yeah, which was cool. So maybe Hurt Business was one. I don't know why WWE's anti-faction, because whenever they do one, they get over and then they just like blow it up real quick.
What's another time they did that?
Hurt Business was actually kind of cool.
What's another time they did like a...
I don't know. You're asking me memory questions on the spot, which never goes well.
Also times where they did factions and they just sucked.
Well, yeah, but...
Like Retribution.
If you think about all of the major hot times in wrestling, it was a lot of factions, right?
Undisputed Era.
Right. Well,
that one was one that actually lasted a while.
Yeah, but I'm talking like Attitude Era,
like Nation of Domination,
WCW,
DX, Corporation,
like won ratings wars for almost 2 years by having factions.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways,
there's also, never mind. I'm black now. They said they'd be in the baddie section on Friday when she defends her title against Play. Jade called herself the problem solver again. She said she'd see Play on Friday.
She does.
It was fine. I guess Hogan and Velvet are already just like randomly affiliated with them. Like they just showed up in the baddie section. Now they're here. I'm fine with Hogan there because I feel like she fits there. But it's a really sudden turn for Velvet, especially considering literally Cargill's first feud was against Red Velvet. There's just like no explanation here. Like it's fine. I'm okay with them being involved. I think it's like, I mean, sure, it's kind of basic to like put all the women of color together, but whatever, it's fine. It works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's just you can see what they're doing, but I wish it wasn't like so just random, especially with Cargill and Velvet's history. I just think it's kind of odd.
Yeah, it's kind of like WWE where it's like we expect you not to remember this, so we're like
right. I mean, it was like nearly a year ago at least, but like I would like some sort of explanation. Like
maybe it's coming.
I feel like what they should, because you know how they were doing the whole Statlanders kind of changing. They could have done that with Velvet instead, and then that would have tied into this, though.
Her change wasn't super drastic either, right. I don't find.
And, like, you could have done the dissension between Velvet and Hirsch, and then you would have, then that maybe could have built to this. Like, she aligns with Cargill because, like, it's a better alliance for her, and then, like, that goes against, like, I don't know, I feel like that could have made more sense than doing it with Statlander, and Statlander doing nothing.
Yes, it is a sudden move for Red Velvet, for sure. So it was basically Jade's usual stuff, but now she has a faction with her. I thought she sounded good. She oozes attitude, which I like, but she didn't really say anything of consequence, right? It's not anything new or...
It was more just establishing the unit.
Right, like we are officially a group. They're not just in the crowd when I wrestle. They are with me, sort of thing. So
right, and
I guess that...
also the nameless ones, I guess.
I guess that was successful. And I'm happy for Kiera Hogan because I really like her, and I think that they... have drastically underused her since she's arrived, so I'm hoping this gets her a little bit of time.
For quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think she's pretty good at this point.
Next we get Butcher versus Wardlow. Oof, watch out, Wardlow. That's all I can say.
Right.
MJF cuts a promo from way up in the stands. I don't know if it was like a balcony. It's just like really high, like
something
one of the
like that,
upper stands.
Right.
Bits.
Up in the nosebleeds, as they say.
Yeah. And Spears is like, because they're like at the edge of like, it's like more one of the electronic billboards would be like the scrolls, and he's just like dropping popcorn on the fans, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
He says they can boo him, and he sees how they cheer Wardlow, and he is a nobody like all of them, and since he is a nobody, he will come out to no music, which he does.
So again, MJF has control.
I thought it was funny that Trons were black, but they're still like the green lighting and everything. Like you get lights,
but that's it.
Yeah, no, we're cutting you off at lights. This is a meh Haas fight. There's not really a lot here. Butcher bites Wardlow's head and batters him with forearms, headbutts in the corner. Powerbomb by Butcher for 2. Ooh. Wardlow gets back up, puts the straps down. Ooh. And hits a powerbomb. 3 more powerbombs, and Wardlow gets the win.
Shocking.
It was fine. Instant match for Wardlow. Pretty much standard.
So I like this better than you, and I don't. So I thought Butcher looked really aggressive and vicious.
I liked Butcher, but then I just don't feel like there was much else.
I thought he looked good in his moments he got on offense, and I think combined with his look, right, he looks so unique.
Yeah,
I think there's potential here with this guy.
I don't
honestly.
think he has a lot of more mobility, but there's some potential to do a bit more.
He could be in that.
He could be a lower mid card.
Why can't I remember his name? Like in the Lance Archer role, where we need to heat up a monster as a fake challenger or something, right?
Yeah, if you just spice up Wardlow a bit more, make him a bit more than just the offos bruiser, you could he could be a Lance Archer. Lance Archer's an adjective now,
right?
Or whatever.
Cut to Lance Archer going, "Hey, I could be a big deal too, you know." So I actually kind of like the story here. I felt like the idea was, as long as you're relentlessly attacking Wardlow, right, you have a chance. But the minute you let up, Wardlow only needs a couple seconds to sort of just take you out, regardless.
Yeah, that's not a bad point.
Regardless of how big you are, because Butcher looked strong in the parts that he got, right?
I like when he did on Rampage after he powerbombed the guy and went ooh.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
That's
that
funny.
Taunt for some
mugging,
reason.
yeah.
The 2 fingers under his own chin. I don't. For some reason, I like it.
It's a thing. It's good because it's a thing he could do, and that's a thing.
So I think I like this more than I should have possibly. And it's funny because we'll get to NXT later, but in NXT you can kidnap people and nothing happens to you, but in AEW, you bother MJF a bit and you're escorted around in cuffs by 20 security guards. But in NXT, you can kidnap guys and lock them in a cage and tie them up and
steal Hall of Fame rings.
Totally fine.
Kidnap people's dads.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a contrast.
Kidnap
there.
People's actual fathers.
But of the Wardlow squashes, I don't even know if this is quite a squash, but I like this match actually for some reason.
Yeah, that's not a bad point. I think that Butcher with a bit more is an Archer type.
He could be some upper mid card guy's heavy, you know what I mean? Or he could do more than he is doing, I think, at the end of the day.
I say they need one more title, just one more singles title.
It's like that everybody involved in the family office stuff needs to just break apart and do something else.
If they turn face again,
just do something else.
Private Party as baby faces have so much potential,
yeah.
But I feel like they're really being held back here ever since.
It's almost like they said, you know what, you guys, best thing for your development would be to go and try and be heels for a while. That's part of your development, and then we'll make you faces, and it'll be great. I don't know.
We'll see. Even care what it is. Just
that whole faction is just
title.
That faction is just a waste of talent, in my opinion.
As long as it's not like a junior heavyweight title, I just need one more.
Right.
Next we get an Eddie Kingston promo. Kingston says on Rampage it's him and Garcia, and then Jazz and Proud and Powerful aren't allowed in the building. He tells Jericho to watch because everything he does to Garcia is meant for him and he's gonna have fun with it. He says when he is done, Garcia's family in Buffalo won't recognize him.
Yeah, another good, passionate promo from one of the best mic guys in the business. And at this point, I was saying the match with Garcia could be really good too. We'll get to that. But I'm just not quite feeling maybe it's just because I'm not all in on Jazz at this point, or.
And I keep saying, oh, it's gonna be Stadium Stampede. A, that doesn't save this. B, no mention of it yet.
And I always say that Eddie Kingston can talk me into believing anything, but it's not happening with this.
I think maybe that illustrates the state of Jericho Appreciation Society.
I think it does.
Because, yeah, I agree. I think Kingston can make a lot of things seem like he got me into the Jericho feud, the Jericho feud itself.
And a great match.
This is just an extension of that, except I just don't care.
Actually, that's a really good point. We've kind of been down this road already.
Right. And if anything, this should be better because you also have Proud and Powerful, who I think are great.
Yep.
But I just don't care about this, and
I'm not feeling.
That's just probably because of the Jazz as a faction.
And to me, it's Pride and Powerful that should have the major heat with Jericho, not so much Eddie Kingston, because they were in a faction with this guy for months and months and months, right? So I don't know. There's something missing here, and it's weird because Eddie Kingston can usually talk me into anything, but I'm not super interested in this feud still.
Yeah, and another thing is they need to, if it's gonna be Stadium Stampede, just please tell me. I want to know. And figure out who the baby faces are teaming with, because I don't know.
I don't know either.
And I guess Guevara's out of the question now.
It seems that way, yes.
Yeah. It was a solid promo. It was all right. Should be a good match, said me a couple days ago.
Uh-huh.
Next we get Kyle O'Reilly versus Jungle Boy, Owen Hart qualifier. I wish it was an Owen Hart Cup, but I can't call it that because I don't even know if it is. Just an Owen Hart tournament.
Or maybe that's like the trophy, like the Andre the Giant one. They made a bronze statue of Owen.
I think that would be cool. And you could still call it, because you can't call it a cup.
And then you have to have a face win it and a heel come and destroy it in a classic move.
Yes. Or repeat SmackDown, have a heel win it, split from his tag partner and go face, and then have the partner steal it.
Right.
Yes, I am saying Corbin stole his trophy last night.
Well, and then you do the classic, you stole my property. We have to have a match to get it back because there's no other recourse.
Oh man, that'd be funny, a one-on-one for an Andre the Giant Battle Royal
in the world
trophy.
of wrestling, there is no recourse to having things stolen other than to fight them for it.
Right.
That's the only way to get it back.
I just thought of it. That would be so funny if there is a one-on-one match for a Battle Royal trophy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is kind of interesting because Corbin did win it a while ago.
Okay, don't talk main roster on this show. That upsets me.
Oh, right.
How dare you?
I apologize.
It's a waste of everyone's time and your breath.
It's a waste of breath and a waste of words.
It is.
So there were some hold encounters. There was a soul kick by Jungle Boy. Kyle O'Reilly comes back with a high knee in the butterfly suplex trifecta. The third one's just like a sit-out face buster, but I didn't like it. It's fun.
That's cool.
Whenever I'm playing a sim, I love to hit that in 2K because it's a fun move. It's a fun move to hit. I like the way it flows. A comebacker Larry on the outside by Jungle Boy rebounding off the barricade. Kyle O'Reilly has kind of like a standing triangle on. I remember Braun Strowman did that in his Wyatt family days. Like
Braun Strowman, another dirtbag.
Him up. I think so. Wait, do you know that?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's involved with Control Your Narrative, so enough said, basically.
Yeah.
Although, I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to check it out when I can.
I think it started.
Just to mock it. Yeah, I think it has too, and...
I think it looks really indie, though. Like, from what I've seen them post, it looks super small. Like, one guy got, taken out for super kicking.
Yeah. How do I say this without implicating myself as a criminal? The places that I usually find to watch wrestling are not covering that show at this point.
Yeah, they're totally fine, law-abiding.
Absolutely,
places.
Upstanding citizens.
Citizens.
As far as I know, are doing everything legally.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Jungle Boy reaches for the ropes on that triangle, and Kyle O'Reilly turns into a pump handle suplex. That was cool.
It was cool.
Jungle Boy stomps at Kyle O'Reilly in the Tree of Woe, and then a basement dropkick. Superplex by Kyle O'Reilly, he hangs on, so Jungle Boy kind of wraps into a small package for 2. I saw that happen on some show.
That's amazing. That's great color work right there, fella.
It was SmackDown. I think Liv Morgan beat Sasha Banks.
How dare you? Again, main roster. You just love main roster. Do you want to stop watching Dynamite and start watching SmackDown?
I do.
Is that what you're telling me?
I do.
You're out of the family and you're doing that podcast on your own.
I am. I'm starting that tomorrow.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how to do any of the recording or technical part.
Or maybe
I will not help you to do that.
Well,
anything else, no problem.
I'll single-handedly create the worst podcast of all time.
Do it.
I'll cover only main roster and NXT.
Just use your laptop mic. Don't actually use any of the sound equipment.
Then don't use any mics. Use the first production app or thing I find, and then post it on only YouTube.
That's exactly it, with no video.
That's no video.
Guaranteed success.
Or I use a crappy computer camera. Or I point at the ground or something.
Yep, you could do that.
Kyle O'Reilly hangs on again, hits a brainbuster. I like the brainbuster he has in 2K because if you do the pin combo, he floats over into a pin.
I love any brainbuster pretty much, except when they rotate too far and it's basically a suplex and they still call it a brainbuster. No,
I think that's kind of funny.
It's got to be straight down, man.
All right, sheer drop.
Like Ishii, my boy.
ECE. Next, we get a diving knee drop to the back by Kyle O'Reilly, and that is your finish.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see him pick up the win here.
Hit it to the back of the head.
So he gets a quality singles win, which I was not expecting and was kind of happy to see. I thought O'Reilly looked awesome in this and really got to showcase his technical ability with some really cool counters and crisp offense, right? And I mean, Jungle Boy does what he does. He provides entertaining matches regardless of the opponent, regardless of whether it's singles or tag team matches. Like, I just keep saying Jungle Boy has good matches, right? All the time. If he could just get his promos down and his character work down, like, he's definitely a pillar going forward.
If he could, then yeah, he's definitely in the making.
And I don't know how long you can do your Jungle Boy as your gimmick, but anyways, a really good really good TV match. I enjoyed this. I would love to see these guys get on a pay-per-view and get more time, even if that was possible somewhere down the road, because I thought the chemistry was really good and I quite enjoyed this match. For a TV match, I thought it was very entertaining. You?
Yeah, I definitely liked it too. One of the highlights on the show.
I agree.
I liked this quite a bit for TV match. Kyle O'Reilly was on display here. Looked really good. Even some of the little things he did, he was just looking good all around. Some good moves like the butterfly suplex trifecta he does is really cool. Or like the way he strikes, I really like.
Me too.
Only thing is, I think he should have hit the knee drop to the back of the head instead of just the back. So I think it sounded like he was targeting the back. It just doesn't quite hit a finish, but I think it works well enough. Jungle Boy looks solid too. Guns away offense, nearly winning with the snare trap. Good first singles win they pointed out for Kyle O'Reilly, his singles debut. It looked like he'll face Samoa Joe, which should be great.
Yes.
I don't see him winning, but I think it's just them showing everyone in the tournament, which is only them. So I think we just kind of, because then they showed Kyle O'Reilly, Cole, and Joe in the same graphic. So I think it's just displaying who's qualified.
Right.
Next we get MJF interview. He says Butcher didn't get the job done, but there's a lot of money where that came from, and he is a snake.
Ooh.
A snake.
Get it?
And when he decides you are his prey, doesn't matter how big or tough you are, he just takes one bite. He's paid Jake Roberts, the snake, to bring in Archer.
And Jake,
Butcher and Archer.
Jake Roberts is already sweating
he was
profusely.
so sweaty.
Like, he enters the screen dripping with sweat somehow.
Yeah, very sweaty. Roberts says a bunch of stuff, and then Archer comes in, says he doesn't need the money, he just wants to fight Wardlow, and everyone dies. Or everybody dies, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, MJF using his money, right? We're sort of led to believe he has a lot of wealth to pay for bigger and bigger challenges for Wardlow makes sense. And it's a good way to sort of prolong the feud and delaying having MJF and Wardlow touch, and allows Wardlow to just keep showcasing himself because the crowd seems to be very much behind the build for this match. So they're really demonstrating how to build a star, right? And the way they've built Wardlow has worked because the crowd loves this guy right now. And I mean, to be fair, it's a huge help to have somebody like MJF in the heel role, right? Every feud this guy builds is money, it seems, at this point, right? So,
yes, even if Wardlow kind of sucked, he could probably build this feud well.
Right, because MJF just gets that heat, right? So then people just want to see somebody beat up MJF, which is the role of a heel. He does it better than anyone. Not that Wardlow's not doing his job well, too, but a lot of the credit has to go to MJF. But they are building a star with Wardlow right now, right? So they're doing good work, and this was good.
Solid promo from MJF. It was really funny how sweaty Roberts
was. It really was. Like, take a minute and just towel your face, bud.
It was as if he missed his cue a bit, and he had to kind of hustle there.
Right. Like, did he wrestle a match before he came over here? Like, I don't understand. It was a Shane McMahon-esque.
At least Archer's a higher caliber of opponent for Wardlow, but it does kind of diminish what's left of his star power because of, like, we know how this is building Wardlow, right? So
it's funny. I wasn't even thinking when I said Butcher could be like an Archer that was what was happening next.
And then they busted out Archer.
Right. That wasn't intentional on my part, actually.
Right. Not even a week later.
No.
Hook versus Anthony Henry is next. FK Asher Hale.
He's my favorite jobber, or one of them. Not that he got to do anything here, but I actually think Anthony Henry's pretty good.
Right, because he jobbed out to Blackpool Combat Club
and he looked
in their
good.
starting days.
Right.
There's a half crab by Hook, but Henry gets a rope break, and Hook is back on the attack with corner body blows and a hip throw. Basement Larry to the back of the head. Crossface shots by Hook. Danhausen attempts to curse Hook again to no avail. Hook gets a submission victory with Red Rum. Danhausen cuts a quick promo. Sick of Hook thinking he can't be cursed or whatever, and he won't be if he won't be cursed with Danhausen, he will fight Danhausen. Hook chuckles a bit, walks away, like Hook does.
And Nice and Sterling were in the crowd scouting Hook here, right, as well. So, I mean, Hook's intensity is impressive. His offense looks great. They're doing a really good job of building him and protecting him so far. Like, I don't know what he's going to look like in like a 15-minute or longer back and forth match, but for now, in these quick one-sided matches, he looks really good, right? I've said it before, I don't really care about Danhausen at this point, but I think it seems like a good choice of stepping up. He's not a jobber, right, at this point, but it's somebody that Hook can still destroy who has at least a bit of a name. So it's moving Hook up a little bit in competition, but it's somebody who definitely doesn't need a win. Danhausen doesn't need any wins at this point, and Hook can destroy him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got the contrast of Hook's serious, super serious character that doesn't talk up to this point. And then Danhausen is 100% comedy thing. So I guess that contrast works. And we'll see where it goes. So, but yeah, the match, like, I enjoy watching Hook kill people. So this was more of that.
Mm-hmm. It was a good squash. It was effective. Hook looked good here. I like his offense.
Me too.
I wish there was just more of those cool suplexes. I like that. I wish there was more of that. I don't care for the Danhausen nonsense, but it's not bad. It's not offensive. It's just kind of there. I think it's fine enough.
And Hook's hair just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier.
At first I thought you were mentioning Asher Hale at first because his hair is like super gray.
Yeah, it was.
Next we get Frankie Kazarian. For some reason, I'm gonna call him.
He still exists.
The Elite Hunter. I'm gonna call him that. I'm just gonna call him that because it's funny.
An amazing angle he worked there.
That would have been cool, man. Like if they took it seriously or if it wasn't Kaz.
I was just gonna say it'd be a good angle, maybe not for Kaz. No offense, Kaz. You're a talented fellow.
Why? It was because they ended SCU. That's what it was.
That's right.
Anywho, he's cut off by Scorpio Sky. Sky says he has been reflecting since Bot B, aka Battle of the Belts.
Mm-hmm.
And he lists off his accolades like any reflective person would, I guess.
Yeah.
And said it wouldn't have been possible without Kaz, and he needs another favor. He says he knows Kaz wants to be TNT champion, but he wants to go out and challenge Sam to get the title back. He'll get the first shot to Kaz, because that's what always happens when someone says that words to other people. And that's what happens.
Kaz in line for a title shot? And if
I guess
so,
that's
how?
what was going to happen here.
How?
Because dark.
Because ratings? Rankings? And has he been...
Yep, Kaz's ratings.
Has he been racking up wins on Dark and Elevation or something?
I guess. Or he's ranked number 5.
I still like this, though. It felt like kind of a real conversation that someone might have, right?
Yeah, so... it was fine. I thought it was either turning Sky face...
Right.
Or to turn Sammy heel... Or it's a ruse by Sky to get a title shot fast. I kind of thought it was him turning him face, and then the 2 segments later, again, they kind of disproved that because he's still affiliated with Men of the Year.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Like, I think it could also just be a ruse.
But it didn't feel that, because sometimes you can kind of feel it, right, that he's not being super sincere. But I thought Sky sounded sincere here. Maybe he just did a good job of hiding it. But yeah, and I mean, there's further evidence that America's Top Team felt a little bit facey later on, right? But I don't know what's going on with this. But I thought this was good because this is like a conversation real people might have, which is always my preference in wrestling.
Yeah, it did seem on something, but I'm also like, with like MJF is accustomed to me, like, I'm not gonna trust it because like, what if it's wrong and then like and then he's fooling Kaz? Like, I guess it could be like a temporary face thing just because like because the thing with Sammy, because
I don't think
heat. Do we know why he's been getting a lot of heat? Like,
I don't think they expected it, so I think that they're sort of scrambling to make it work, right? Because I don't know if they expected Sammy and Tay Conti to get. I
certainly didn't.
I honestly think it's coming from the whole, like, you proposed to one woman in the ring and made a big deal about it, and now you're like flaunting this relationship with Tay Conti, and I think that might be all it is. And then as soon as a few people start booing, it just becomes what you do, right? We boo,
right? Like a few
MSK.
People. Yes, I was about to say.
So, we noticed on TV or whatever that there's people booing Sammy Guevara, so that's what we do.
Yeah, I feel like it stems from that, but I feel like that was like a little longer ago.
It was, and I think that
I guess like with it becoming more of a thing on TV, right? Because they're trying to set up the whole them versus Van Zant and someone. I guess like with it becoming more of a thing on TV, I guess that kind of sheds more light on this scenario that people like. It could be like people didn't like that before, but like it wasn't really like bothersome on TV, so you can kind of just like leave that fun. But
because
it was becoming more of a thing on TV, right?
There was speculation that they were together, and they were like tweeting, basically like, don't believe everything you hear, blah blah blah, and then it's like, boom, now you're right in our face. You are obviously together, right? So you were kind of lying or trying to mislead us about not being together. So I don't, and I think
we can talk
honestly,
about that more later also.
AEW is going to lean into it, right? Which I think is the right move because I think there's massive potential for these two. As anyways, we'll get to that.
I think Guevara is like, I think the way he is, he's a natural heel.
Way more interesting. It's just too bad his offense isn't heely, right? Because it's hard to not like his offense, but he is a better heel.
I don't know about Conti as a heel, but I could see it working.
So far, it's working for me. Yeah.
And then there's a quick Thunder Rosa package. I didn't really catch much of it because it was just like one of those vague, like, I'm moving on to other things now, like to Double or Nothing.
I thought she sounded good, which makes me wonder why they hide her away. Like, I didn't think she sounded bad.
Yeah, they kept doing that, right? Like, it was kind of odd.
She's one of those ones where she sounds better in recorded segments like this rather than live promos. So I thought she sounded good, but you're right. We didn't get anything new out of this.
Yeah, there's not much to note here.
No.
Next, we get the Guevara and Conti promo in the ring. There's boos from the crowd. Guevara says he loves this and he feels on top of the world as TNT champion for the third time. And with Conti, to reiterate, I do believe there was 10 reigns with the TNT title, so thus far.
And he has 30%
6
of them?
of them are Cody or Sammy Guevara.
Right.
Because it was Cody, Brody Lee, Cody, Darby Allin, Miro, Sammy, Cody, Sammy, Sky, Sammy.
Yep. That sounds right.
That's ridiculous. I feel like it's more annoying with Cody, but I also feel like it's with Sammy. Like, I feel like his title runs didn't really hit. I mean, sure,
they didn't, and I think that's why I kept
this
losing.
One's different, but like, I don't know. It's like, why did they give it to Sky then?
Because again, you put the belt on him, and then he does nothing other than hold up signs during a commercial break. Right? There was no character, no anything. It was just like, yep, he has good matches, and he's the champ, sort of thing.
He says he loves her and loves every fan who cheers them as they boo. And he says the rest of them who turn their backs on them, they have one option, that's to be mad, which I feel like is a catchphrase, which I don't really care for.
What was it? Sorry? I coughed.
To be mad.
Right.
Just the way they said it was like, be mad.
I think, that's coming back around, probably.
Big mad. Sky comes out with Paige and Lambert. He says the feelings and screw them, it's screw Sammy, which it has changed, indeed. Changed the narrative. Paige cuts off Guevara very angrily, shouting, saying there isn't a single person who came to see Sam and Guevara speak. And
he was great.
He says they aren't beating him up because tonight is about business. Lambert says Sammy can either give Sky a rematch or Mendez you can come give him the pounding Conti dreams about. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. Guevara agrees to a rematch, which I think will be a ladder match because reasons.
Yeah.
If they get the mixed tag match and Lambert agrees to the terms.
Yeah, it feels like a double turn, right? Which is pretty rare in wrestling, and it's hard to believe that Lambert is coming across as a babyface. So I thought Ethan Page sounded awesome. He was super fired up, and I honestly think Sammy and Ty Conti, they could be an amazing heel combination. Just that youthful, we're all over social media, we're all about doing things for clout and shock value. Like, they could really do a good job with that, I think. And they're getting really good heat right now. I mean, a testament to that is the fact that Lambert is kind of the babyface here, which is insane to think about.
That, especially, like, he wasn't even, or I guess the only time like he got cheered was against Brandy Rhodes.
Yes, which was hilarious.
No one likes Brandy Rhodes.
No. So I don't care about the mixed tag team match at all, but for me, this is the most interesting Sammy Guevara has been in quite a while. So I think they just need to, they've already decided they're going to lean into this sort of accidental heel turn, and why not run with it and see what happens?
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a full double turn, but I feel like it could just be a temporary thing because they can't just drop the Sky Guevara thing, I guess, right? This was fine. Guevara was solid. I think he's good, just not like the best. The dynamic was weird here. While I won't deny Guevara works as a heel, kind of odd when he's opposite in the year because they were odd being cheered here. But I loved Page, man. He was awesome here.
He's so good on the mic.
I love when he's just like really angry.
And that's why you hear these things that WWE is targeting him. They want him because he has the size. He can work the style they want if he had to, and he can talk. So good.
Yeah, I really hope he doesn't get.
They will make him awful.
They will
kill
screw him.
Of course.
Like, they will absolutely screw him.
Yep.
And like,
and he's a good Canadian boy, and as a bonus.
Exactly. And I don't remember the last time a Canadian guy made it like what, Edge, because he's old. Like, I don't know. they're gonna screw him. I hope he stays here because he's really good. I wish they could do the North because that would be that. Then you could like release Sky and babyface role again because he could do that. And then I wish he could do the North. The North are sick.
They are.
Next we get Britt Baker versus Danielle Camella, formerly known as NXT's Vanessa Bourne long ago.
And she's clearly just been training in the dojos of the world since she left there, because, man, is she a ring technician now. That was me being sarcastic, in case it didn't come across.
Yeah, all I can say is she didn't look much better than her NXT days.
But, like, my note is, like, she does a decent job of being a heel, right? Like, her heel antics and stuff are fine, but then the bell rings. Kind of one of those scenarios. Like, I wasn't impressed, obviously.
Yeah,
but anyways.
there's a butterfly suplex by Baker, weak-looking running kick by Camella during the commercial break, is what you...
And she does, like, she, like, poses and taunts and then runs into it, and, like, it didn't even look like it would, like, dent a loaf of bread if she were holding it, you know. But anyways,
like when they were squishing the bread in Superstore,
that's what I was thinking.
Wouldn't even squish it.
Yes.
Camella chokes Baker a bit with one of the yellow towels. Also, Baker had Pittsburgh people with her.
She didn't choke her; it was over her mouth. It was like she was trying to suffocate her. And I thought,
funny. We just saw an ad for the Benoit thing.
I thought ooh, dark. Ooh. I thought Camella thought she was choking her with it, but just so then commentary were like, she's trying to suffocate her or something like that. But anyways, might have been a botch. I don't know.
Suffocation match. That should be a match type.
Yeah, for sure.
Or like, it would be even funnier.
Ether on a pole.
Ether on a pole, or chloroform rag on a pole.
Yes.
Like from WrestleMania 9.
Yes.
With Giant Gonzalez and
Undertaker, and then commentary have to, I could smell it from here. They have to do that whole thing.
There's a curve stomp by Baker. She pulls out a yellow glove because Pittsburgh.
Well, it had a Steelers logo on it too. I think it was like, it looked like a wide receiver's glove, to be honest.
Okay, Steelers glove because Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly. And she had two Steelers with her, right?
Yeah.
Najee Harris, and I forget the other dude's name that handed her the glove.
Jeff.
Sure.
Baker wins with a lockjaw. And so she says, finally, we have a woman in the ring with a mic who knows how to use it. In the past few weeks, have made it clear it's a disaster without her, referring to the women's division. She goes to the tournament people, roast Soho and Tony Storm. Yeah, Tony Storm sucks. And says, Hater will make Tony want to leave here too. Let's hope so. She says, Cargill said Pittsburgh is ugly and the only people here who want to see Cargill the baddie she gave free tickets to. She mentions Red Velvet and says she doesn't know which is worse, her kicking Velvet's ass or her being a baddie. And then she signs off the DMD line.
Did you think she sounded nervous here?
No.
I did. Her voice was like shaky and stuff. But anyways, match-wise, the match was nothing. And get ready for my weekly complaint, right? This was your women's match on a 2-hour show.
Exactly.
It got 6 minutes and a commercial break in the middle. So I'm tired of saying this every week, but it annoys me. It's like this little just picks at me every week that the women get one match, it's short, and there's going to be a commercial break, and it's not even involving like someone we've literally never seen who's not good. So why? Anyways, I'm sure people that listen every week are tired of me ranting about that. So there it is. But yeah,
no, I think it's fair, and I think like because next week we're getting, I will mention it. Actually, I'll mention it later. But like with the Deep Sheeta Street fight, I think there's potential to do that, but I'll get to that because that is coming up, so I will talk about that after. But the match itself was like, it was okay, but again, like this being your only women's match on the show just kind of doesn't really hit. Nope. Camille didn't do much of no, but she wasn't great. Like she didn't look much better than what I remember from her NXT days. Not. Like Baker was fine. I think it was solid, like finishing with the lockjaw and whatnot. The whole Steeler stuff, I don't really care for that, but like I think it's fine. Like she's in her hometown. I think it was cool to see her back again.
Her gear looked awesome.
I like the gear. Like the one she's wearing, like the gold colors and whatnot. I think that's really nice. I like the post match promo. I'm hoping it's like a return of prominence of sorts for her because kind of quiet since the loss.
Yep.
Which I think makes sense, but it has been odd not having her around like in a prominent role. I thought it was interesting she went after Cargill a bit at the end. I'm thinking maybe she could go anti-hero kind of face, and maybe she faces Cargill. I think it would be nice for Baker to have a title again. I think she'd be a worthy opponent for Cargill. it would be kind of a step down, yes, but I also don't think they can just give her the main title back.
No.
And I also, do you see anyone else worthy stepping up to Cargill?
So
I don't think so.
No, and you can let Cargill get to like 50, if you want, and look really impressive, and then she loses to Baker, which nobody
Baker
would.
Be cool. And like you could do like because I think she could still be doing like the wisecracking or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't think she should go back to what she was before she turned heel.
No.
But like I'm thinking like an anti-hero kind of heel.
Kind of like she presents herself in Pittsburgh, right? Because she knows she's going to get cheered.
Exactly.
So
That's
she
like
can't go full heel.
What they kind of had here. I think they could do that full time. Then they could have her with the TBS style. I think that would work unless like some other great option comes along. But I really don't.
She rhymed off the bunch of women that are there, and there's not a real option as like presented right now.
Yeah, that's the tournament feel, and there's just not much yet.
No, I think Deeb should be elevated, but anyway,
Deeb could beat Baker because if Baker goes face,
and she's coming up in the next segment too, right?
Next we get Deeb Sheeta package. Deeb says Sheeta isn't on her level. Sheeta says let's finish this. Deeb says next week she ends this, and Sheeta challenges Sheeta to a Philly street fight, and Sheeta accepts.
Yeah, I like this. Both women were really intense, and I think we're all ready for this feud to be finished, and I guess this match will be the payoff, right? And a subtle thing, but I like the images. You had Serena Deeb swinging a sledgehammer, right, and hitting the tire, and then they quickly cut to her hitting Sheeta with a kendo stick. So I like the message that like Deeb is specifically training to be able to hit Sheeta with stuff extra hard. So I thought that was kind of a cool little touch, right? But yeah, this feud has been going on forever with large kind of gaps in between because as we talked about, they don't really deal with the women on this show. But I'm still excited for this match. Not all of the matches.
Not even the actual feud that matters.
Not all of the matches have been good between these two, or really good. But I still think this one could be awesome. So I'm excited for it.
It was fine for a short segment. I thought Deeb spoke well, and she was fine. Well, I think it's a solid stipulation. I think it's cool. I feel like they should have gone like submission match or Iron Women match, something more fitting of their feud and their styles. You can go like, if you want to bring weapons involved, like go something kind of from left field, like submissions count anywhere. Or something like that.
But I think this is escalated beyond, in theory.
I guess.
Like it now just has to be a violent, brutal brawl.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like that kind of match would be like the submissions like that incorporates Deeb's style and kind of Sheeta, but then it also like would allow for wrong. I don't know. I just wish it was something a little more tailored to the feud. But regardless, it should be a good one. I assume it could be next week's main event.
I hope so.
And now I think of it, I could see it like rather than the multi-man tag. I think either multi-man tag or FTR open the show. I hope this is what I'm saying. I think with this being the main event, they could squeeze in another women's tourney qualifier.
Oh, you dreamer!
And then you have two. Like I don't like.
I'll even take this as like a 15 to 20-minute main event for the women. That is at least a step in the right direction, right?
Right.
And it's not
after
Britt
like
Baker.
Stuff like this, and then what did we get the other week? There was another tournament qualifier, and it was like something like it was. I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but Ishida and Julia Hart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like this week. So yeah, I like this. That should be a good match next week. And now we go to tonight's main event,
which I was pretty excited for. Not gonna lie. Did it deliver? That's the question.
Idolo versus Darby Allin, who didn't wear good enough face paint in a coffin match.
You were upset by that.
Yeah,
I did not really notice.
I don't remember if he wore it in the actual match or just near the match, but they have like that coffin drop Darby Allin figure. And I really like the paint on that. I was hoping he would do like something with body paint here.
Right.
But he kind of wore a jacket the whole time or long sleeve.
He did for the most
it was
part.
Weird.
Maybe because he was going to be taking tack spots, but he didn't really. Somebody else ran down and took their shirt off just to take tack spots. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also Darby, like he was like, I guess he was holding off the lid with the tacks at one point.
Yeah, he was.
Darby flips out of a German suplex while holding the skateboard and then attacks Andrade with it. I thought that was cool.
That looked cool, yeah, to start.
Private Party run interference.
Right away,
Darby
man.
To allow Andrade to take control. Yeah, like Darby hadn't even done that much.
Nothing.
Sting appears in the crowd and attacks Blade and Powerful because an old goth man can easily dispose of two young tag team stars and Blade.
Despite me saying I'm devoid of nostalgia, Sting in a Sting match, in a Sting mask, is a classic WCW thing.
He did that in TNA.
He's hidden in Sting masks before, so I didn't mind that actually.
He did that in TNA.
He's done it in WCW as well.
Oh, is that where it's from? I thought it was from TNA. 'Cause that's the clip I've seen.
But yeah.
There's a lot of crowd brawling, not necessary. Balcony dive by Sting after a huddle group just forms on the ground for some reason. I assume because there's like a flesh magnet in between them for some reason. Otherwise, I'm not really sure why they formed there. There has to be some sort of reason. Not because of a contrived dive by a 60-year-old guy, but
got to find a way to get him to jump off stuff these days.
Yep.
Got to put all our energy into that.
Yep. Back in the ring, Darby throws a chair at Andrade as he was running for the corner Meteor, and then I thought that's funny because he kind of hit off his knee, but Andrade still had the momentum, so he's still like, the chair hit off his knee and he still kind of hit into the corner, which I thought was kind of funny. And then like a high take code red, like Andrade landed high on his neck. I thought it looked really nice, though.
It did.
Andrade catches a coffin drop on the outside and hits a German suplex.
That looked great.
That was kind of cool. Bit of a power move from Andrade. Andrade walks up the ramp with Darby in a stalling suplex and then hits it towards the top of the ramp.
Very cool as well.
Cool. And he kind of suplexes Darby onto some steel grating to the side of the ramp, which I thought was awesome. I like the sound there. Darby hits a suicide dive, knocking them both into the coffin, which was cool. Jose attacks Darby to prevent him closing the lid, gets backdropped on the underside of the lid.
He comes down and rips his shirt off. And he's in great shape, it turns out. Right? I
wonder if he's like an indie wrestler or something.
But he just did it just so he could get thrown on the tacks, basically.
And Darby wins by closing the lid, because that's how you win.
So, this was a tough one for me, right? Because it wasn't the match that I wanted. Just because the involvement of all the other people early and the crowd brawling to set up a Sting fall off of a balcony was just ate up too much time. And that was driven home because when the match actually got into the ring and around the ring, it was really good, but it was far too short. I wanted to see these two guys fight, not the other stuff circling around them that I don't really find interesting. This is like a gimmick match and a Darby Allin signature match, right? So, and it's supposedly this bitter feud.
I think they should have barred interference or something.
It was too short and just underwhelming. The few minutes of action between Andrade and Allin was really, really good. It just wasn't enough for me. All of the other stuff, I just didn't want it, and I wanted those two guys to fight, and so we got a taste of it. But for a main event, it's not what I was looking for. So I put it as underwhelming, even though it's not the fault of Allin or Andrade. What they did was great. It's just there was too much other stuff. Crowd brawling is never my favorite.
I don't need Sting involved
especially when I don't care about that faction at all, right? So anyways, underwhelming, but had some major, major potential that they fell short of, I think.
Mm-hmm. I like this match. I think, I agree, it underwhelmed from what I remember from the first Coffin match. Remember the Ego's Edge on the stairs?
I like that one much better.
Remember the Ego's Edge on the stairs from the turnbuckle? That was cool.
Yep.
Once it got going with them in the ring, though, I think it was great. The action there was great. Darby took some mean punishment, naturally. But I think the crowd brawling and all the interference at the beginning was a waste of time for sure. As great as the latter stages of this match were, I think it would have been far better if the crowd brawling was before the match, or better yet, non-existent. I think you could have barred interference here and put together a really nice match, because honestly, I'm amazed at how much they get me to care about a coffin match, because in WWE, I would hate a casket match, which is almost the same, but this, when I remember they announced it last week, I was like, yes, and I was like, what? I'm excited for a coffin match, but because they actually did a good job with the first one, and they did. I think it's cool. Darby has he has a signature match to kind of capitalize on his popularity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense. I think it works, and I like them. I just think that this should have been less. I feel even with the first one, Sting was already there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Men of the Year were would have been interfering, so I feel like they could have had interference there, but I don't even remember there being a lot there, so I don't know why.
Not enough
there
that
was
annoyed
so
me,
much here, right? I think it was a detractor. I think ideally this would have been so much better, but I think that it was still pretty good despite that.
And there was the spot I don't think we mentioned where Andrade tried to get the lid off of the coffin for some reason, and it felt like they just had to give up because I feel like they
said it was because of the thumbtacks on the other underside, but I don't know how that applies.
How did that make sense? I think they were trying to get it off for some other spot, and it didn't work out. So and they just kind of audibled. I'm not sure, but anyways, yeah. Sorry.
Thoughts on the show?
So it was a tough one for me this week because I liked the opener. I don't think it was an all-time Dynamite opener or anything. I liked the Combat Club match. Well, I can't remember the first name.
Blackpool.
There we go. I liked that match as well, despite thinking the young guys got a bit too much. The O'Reilly Jungle Boy was probably my match of the night, I think, as it turned out. And the main event for what the actual match was good, but it should have been a lot better. Even Wardlow Butcher kind of over delivered for me, and the women's match was nothing, and the Hook match was his standard stuff. So kind of a mixed bag, but I as we kind of went through it, I realized I liked most of it, right? So I was kind of going to give a harsher grade than I think what I'm going to end at. Promo wise, there was nothing amazing. I liked the Sheeta Deeb thing. I thought Britt Baker's promo was off this week. Sammy Conti interaction, that was pretty good as well. So I don't know, the show wasn't bad, but I wasn't captivated either. So I think that puts it as good but not great, which for me is going to be a nice solid B this week.
Nice.
You?
Yeah, so I thought the matches were solid. I think I would have liked Rhodes Punk more. It overstayed its welcome, so I can't really enjoy it a ton, and it was just too slow for my liking. Like if it held my attention more, I would have liked it more. I'm just scrolling back. The trios match was fun, but should have been like more Combat Club. Butcher Wardlow was fine. I really liked Kyle Riley Jungle Boy highlight. Hook looked solid. The women's match was not much, and I liked the coffin match quite a bit. Just could have been much more.
Mm-hmm.
As far as segments go, I liked the Undisputed Elite promo. I think that was pretty good. The announcement segment I like a lot. That is very exciting. Cargill was fine. Kingston was fine. MJF's promo was good. The Kaz one was fine. I think the Sammy Guevara stuff was good. And I like the Deep Sheeta package quite a bit. I think it was average, so it kind of goes up and down throughout. Yeah. I think a B is pretty fair. Average show, but still pretty good.
Yeah, again, enjoyed watching it, but nothing really like. I always want to hit this review and be like, if you didn't see this, you need to go watch this, right? So there were none of those moments for me really on this show, right. But a good show nonetheless from top to bottom. Enjoyed it. All right, so let's move into our little break from talking about specific shows and do a little bit of trivia in what we like to call off the top of his head. So we are going back to WWE Raw Trivia Part 2. It was hard last week. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, right. Some parts of it were...
super easy, and then some were virtually impossible. Some of these I know you'll know, so let's get started. First one, which continuing from last week, is number 16. The King's Court was a special segment on Raw, hosted by whom?
Jerry Lawler.
That is correct. I knew you wouldn't even need the options on that one. True or false? Guaranteed you get this right. Raw had a special segment known as a WWE Diva Search.
True.
Correct. And it was fantastic stuff, let me tell you. Here's one you may or may not. I actually know this one, so I'm hoping you don't, because rarely do I know one that you don't know. What was the name of the show hosted by Carlito on Raw?
Oh.
Come on. I do have the options, and I feel like you'll know it as soon as you hear it, but can you get it without? I could have without it. Actually, because I thought Carlito was cool.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me. I should know.
Carlito's Way, which is funny because that's a movie name. Carlito's Cabal, Carlito's Cabana.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I knew you'd know it. Yes, it was Carlito's Cabana. He was good, man. The Master Lock Challenge was a recurring segment between 2005 and 2007, hosted by which of these superstars?
Oh, I don't know.
Wow, these
Chris
are
Masters.
Not so hard this week. That is correct. The VIP Lounge was a segment hosted by which superstar?
MVP.
These are hard.
He still does.
I know, that has come back around. What was the name of the show hosted by Shawn Michaels?
Oh,
I don't remember
Heartbreak
that
Hotel.
One. Correct. Very good.
I remember because the one flashback Elite Wave, it was like a Build-A-Figure, except it was like build a Heartbreak Hotel set.
Do you know what that is an allusion to?
No.
Oh, wow. Elvis Presley. Your grandma would be upset with you for not knowing Elvis. True or false? The Love Shack was a segment hosted by Dude Love between 1997 and 1998.
What?
The Love Shack was a segment hosted by Dude Love between 97 and 98.
True.
Yeah, it was. Right. Has there ever been a false one yet?
I don't know.
I feel like they have a bit of a tell on the true and falses. Which of these superstars hosted the segment known as the highlight reel?
Jericho.
How could you know that?
I guess are these Raw centric? Like,
yes.
I guess like
it's WWE Raw trivia.
Yeah, but like, are they only on Raw? Like,
I think so.
These are kind of things that could have been on SmackDown too. Well, I don't think they have.
I don't think they'd be in Raw trivia if they were not
I'm
Raw.
Just saying like they're not like don't sound specific to Raw.
Which of these superstars hosted the segment White Boy Challenge?
What?
You don't.
I have no idea.
I forgot, but once I saw the name, I knew.
Okay.
Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Edge, Rodney Mack.
Rodney Mack.
It was Rodney Mack. They had like really high hopes for that guy, and he just kind of did not do anything.
He wasn't in Mean Street Posse, was he?
I don't
Was that
think
different
so.
Rodney?
No, not that was Pete Gas. Rodney was Rodney Gas. I think maybe.
No, it was Pete Gas. I think Rodney and someone else.
Yeah. The Kiss Cam segment on Raw was hosted by which WWE diva? Wow, this one I wouldn't know. I would have guessed from the names though. Names?
Go again.
Kiss Cam segment hosted by which diva?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Caitlyn, Maria, Natalia, AJ Lee.
Maria.
Correct. I knew as soon as I saw it too. Just felt like something.
I remember seeing that she kissed Snoop Dogg for some reason.
Oh, nice.
And I think Ric Flair.
Sure. Who was the first ever general manager of Raw? First ever.
Eric Bischoff.
Correct. Very good. That one I wouldn't have got.
I think before that it was like commissioners and presidents and that junk.
Which of these pairings served as the first ever commentators on Raw?
Okay.
You want options?
Well, it said which of these pairings, so yeah.
Okay. Well, unless you knew off the top of your head. Vince McMahon and Johnny Polo.
What?
Gorilla Monsoon.
Johnny Polo, like Raven?
Yeah.
What? That's so weird.
Well, then eliminate that option. Gorilla Monsoon and Shawn Michaels. Randy Savage and Vince McMahon. Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole.
Savage and Vince.
Yeah, remember they wanted Savage to like be done wrestling and just do commentary, and he was like,
Right.
Which AM Raw? What is that? Does that even make sense? Which AM Raw was a show that aired on which days of the week?
Saturday.
WWE AM Raw. Is that? I don't even remember that existing.
I only know that exists because of the encyclopedia. I've seen that it does exist.
So when did you say it was?
Saturdays.
Saturday night and Sunday morning is the answer. I hate that question in general. Second last one. Which of these superstars defeated Hall of Famer, I'm adding that myself, Coco Beware, to win the first ever match on Raw? You want options?
Yeah.
Mr. Fuji, Yokozuna, Rikishi, Shawn Michaels.
Yokozuna.
Correct. Coco Beware, I did not know he was on the first Raw.
I don't think Rikishi
As a little kid, I loved Coco Beware. The Ghostbuster, which was his brainbuster finisher, to this day is amazing. Final one. Which of these superstars won against Max Moon to become the first ever superstar to retain a title on the first episode of Raw?
Shawn Michaels.
So he retained which title as well then?
Intercontinental title.
Correct. You
Good
knew that. I didn't know that.
I think that era Michaels is Intercontinental.
Yes, he was a great Intercontinental champion. Well, good job. You did much better on, I think, this week's version of Raw trivia than last week. We'll move on to something else next week. But right now, we're going to move back to talking about some AEW wrestling, this time taking a look at last night's Rampage. So, full disclosure, we missed the first, 3 minutes of Rampage, and apparently that was, it went right into Cole and Ishii, which was the match we really wanted to see, but we were firing up our streaming service,
right?
So it took a second, but anyways, we did see the vast majority of it. So there was a few things here: power slam by Ishii, Saito suplex by Ishii, Ushigoroshi by Cole, nice backstabber by Cole, delayed vertical suplex off the second rope by Ishii, which they called a superplex. I don't know if that counts off the second ropes. We were trying to decide what the term should be. Ishii then ducks the boom at one point, hits a sliding lariat, which is one of his signatures. We get the patella drop brain buster by Cole, only because you've told me that's what it is 1,000 times. I finally remembered. A nice enziguri by Ishii. Both men are down. And then the finish comes. Jay White's there, sort of causes a bit of a distraction. And we get Cole with the low blow, and he hits the boom. And Adam Cole picks up a quality win over Ishii. Your thoughts on this match?
I don't know. I thought it was solid. I think I like Ishii at parts. I feel like sometimes it wasn't like much, but I like some of his moves, like the superplex. I like that he did more than like just battering him. Like
yes, this is the Ishii I enjoy.
A lot of choppy and
I think we
stuff.
missed the choppy at the beginning. There, when I looked back at someone else's recap, there was some strikes at that point. I think,
but I think he moved around more. I like this better than when he was in that tag match with
me too, because that was almost felt like all chops.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think this is better. I think cool. The only thing was the last shot didn't look like it hit as well as he usually does.
Right. I really enjoyed this match, actually. Easily my match of the night on this show. I love Ishii, especially when he does limit the chops and forearms, and he does other things that he's capable of doing, a lot of different things. So that's the version of Ishii. Of course, there's always going to be chops and forearms, but it doesn't have to be like 60% of the match with Ishii. Those are the matches I prefer. So I thought this was really good. I would love to see these guys get even more time than this, and with a little bit of a storyline built behind it, could be awesome. I don't in general love distraction finishes, but Cole is such a slimy heel that it doesn't bother me as much with him, because it really fits.
And because Jay White's a cool boy.
Heel Adam Cole, and it kind of protects Ishii a little bit, I guess, in this case too, right? Because they still may want to treat him as a killer later on, so it took a low blow to beat him here. So I really like this match, actually. It was kind of a downward spiral on this show for me. Not sorry, that's a harsh. It makes it sound like stuff was really bad, but for me,
it's progressively getting a little worse.
This is where the show peaked for me. Do we then see JAS are trying to enter the building, but they're not allowed? Jericho, going on about it's his show, people are here to see him, etc. He mocks how little the security guards get paid, brags about how much money he makes, and then more security or sort of move in a little bit. Garcia kind of telling Jericho not to worry, saying he can handle Eddie Kingston on his own. So Jericho leaves after threatening to call HR. I don't know. This didn't do anything for me. Like, my question is, this sports entertainer behavior? Maybe, I guess. Like, again, I don't know this gimmick, right? Like, we're sports entertainers. Are you? Like, how are you different?
I hated the way Garcia spoke at the end of that. He was just like, don't worry, I'll be fine. I'm a sports entertainer. I know what to do. Like, it just felt like really weird.
How are they different than the non-sports entertainers on this show? Is there some
plot twist? They're not.
Some key difference that I'm not seeing, because I'm not, other than them telling us this all the time, I'm not seeing evidence.
Yeah,
maybe it's just me.
I don't know. So, I'm not seeing much either.
Again, I guess there was nothing wrong with this, but there's other people I would prefer get this time, because this group seems to get a bit of time each week, and it's not working for me. So I would love to see them replaced with something else. I don't know. This whole Jericho reinventing himself, it doesn't always work. I think this is the evidence of that for me, right? Like, it doesn't always work.
He does get praised for always reinventing himself, and I think he should, because he's always trying it. But I think this is living proof that it's not always, because I feel like everyone would reminisce with it as being he's always reinventing into something great. But I think this is living proof that it's not always.
And they started out with, okay, I'm gonna give them new names, comical new names, so that is sports entertainment-ish, right? So I get that, and I was kind of okay, I'll give them a chance. But since then, I don't feel like this group is more.
Well, I think you made a good point. What is the difference?
Right. What's the difference right now? I don't know what it is.
Other than that they say it's sports entertainer
right.
a lot.
They're telling us, not showing us, and it's not working for me.
Right, which is always the thing. You got to show us.
Right. Hook then talks to Mackenzie, in theory, quote unquote, talks to her. So Danhausen is there, I think, eating more of the chips that I think he thinks give Hook his power or something. Hook ends up pinning Danhausen against the wall, and Hook speaks. He says that Danhausen has gotten his attention. So I guess that was the big thing that Hook spoke.
Basically, now we can confirm that Hook does in fact speak English.
Right. So
I thought he might.
And it took weeks and weeks and weeks of Danhausen showing up and trying to curse this guy and just being annoying for Hook to speak. And he said one line basically. So yeah, it's fine. It's nudging this feud along. Again, a good choice for somebody a little bit higher up the card for Hook to destroy, and Danhausen doesn't need to worry about taking losses at this point, right. I don't think. Lance Archer took on Serpentico. It was 30-something seconds, right? A release suplex that actually looked cool. It just sort of skidded Serpentico across the ring, blackout, and it's over. And then Archer hits, I think commentary were calling it a chokeslam symphony, right? To sort of mimic Wardlow's powerbomb symphony. So he hits a bunch of 2 or 3, whatever it was, chokeslams to Serpentico after the match. So I mean, I don't imagine you have many thoughts on this.
It was like he beat him up mostly before the match.
He did.
Went for the dive, and then it was just like a blackout done.
And yeah, I mean, it's clear they're just heating Archer up. Again, they're doing what we always say about Archer, right? They spend 1 week heating him up to be like, oh yeah, he's a big, powerful dude, so that he can be fed to somebody, which is going to be
Right.
Wardlow next week. So, but again, it's a compliment to Wardlow, right? This is all an investment in building a star in Wardlow, and they're using Archer to sort of get that done for them. So that's fine. We get a Tony Nese, Mark Sterling segment. Sterling's talking about Nese being the hottest free agent, a premier athlete, all of the usual stuff. And Nese sort of finishes by saying he'll knock people's lights out. And we picked up on this, right? I think it was Sterling mentioned that Nese is undefeated. And we were both like, what?
He is definitely not.
He lost to Swerve.
He lost to Sam Guevara.
Right.
Like,
so
that's two right there.
I don't know where that came from. So I don't. And it's fine if it's part of some heel narrative, right, that they're going to go with. But I don't see how
that is factually wrong.
Like, it's not like they were dark matches, like actual dark matches.
And the thing for me is how fast we were able to disprove that.
Me remembering things? That's bad, right?
Like,
that's
instantly disprove.
Why can't that. Speaking of me remembering things, why can't I remember the name of the matches lights out matches?
Yeah,
it's not like those were the matches he had.
Definitely
right?
not.
So yeah, I don't know.
It does not make sense. It's kind of like, I don't know where that sentiment came from.
Me either. I like Sterling, actually. I think his delivery is good. He does a good job.
Like I said, I think him having kind of a branching thing, like his character makes sense to do that because of the whole kind of lawyer thing. I think that makes sense to me.
And Nese is not good at talking, so he needs a mouthpiece as well. So
yeah,
and
I was saying sense. Like not because he's bad at promos, but just like the sheer sound of his voice. He's sounding like someone. I was like, who is it? And I was like, oh, he sounds like Roddy.
He does.
Not because he's bad at speaking, but just like
his a little bit of both.
Okay, yeah, but like that's not why he sounds like Roddy. Like, I think like he actually sounds like Roddy, and
you're right. He does.
I thought it was interesting. I was like, I couldn't put my finger on it for a second. I was like, oh, he sounds like Roddy.
And I do really like Nese in ring. Like, he can have some awesome matches, but he definitely needs a mouthpiece.
Yeah, he got a run with the Cruiserweight title, but it was kind of lackluster.
It was. We then get Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia, which I was quite looking forward to. We have Eddie with an aggressive start right away. He takes control. It ends up out on the floor. Garcia gets run into the steps, but then Kingston takes a bit of time in between, and he ends up getting pulled into the steps to sort of shift the momentum. A little bit later, each man is biting the other one's face and head at some point, right? Then lots of strikes and brawling, which was not what I came here to see. But anyways, Garcia's focusing on Kingston's ribs for a good chunk of it. We get a German suplex by Garcia, a boot, back elbow, and a knee drop to the back of Garcia's neck. That sort of ends. Garcia had quite a run in control, and that kind of slows it down there. But he quickly rebounds, gets a Boston Crab, transitions to a sharpshooter, but Eddie eventually gets to the ropes to break that up. We get a nice exploder by Kingston for 2, a Saito by Eddie, and then he hits his spinning back fist. What's it called? The Hurricane or whatever?
Hurricane or something, yeah.
And he picks up the win. So, I don't know. My thoughts, I think you can tell when we talked about it on Dynamite, I was underwhelmed by this, right? I wanted to see this match, and I guess the point was it's supposed to feel more like a fight than a wrestling match, but
I didn't really pick up that either.
It didn't work on a couple levels because, one, Daniel Garcia's a technician, and why not let him be a technician? And two,
he's a sports entertainer.
Exactly, he's working a whole sports entertainer gimmick. So I don't know. It lacked the heat of most Eddie Kingston matches for me, right? And I think it is because I'm blaming the Jericho Appreciation Society. The role they're playing, I don't see why Eddie Kingston cares so much about them, right? Because JAS are just, for me, largely inconsequential. So even Eddie Kingston, who can get me fired up and interested in almost anything, is struggling to get me interested in this. Like, I don't care to see him kill Jericho, and you raised a good point. They just faced each other, right? So I much preferred the opener to this. I had high expectations for this. It didn't deliver. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, it just didn't really hold my interest, which I feel like usually he can. I just wasn't very interested in. Like, it was like, it wasn't much of a fight. It wasn't much of a wrestling match to me. I don't think like Garcia, like, he's just not a sports entertainer. And like, sure, they can do the whole thing like, oh, they're trying to make him do that sound, like, but they're not even like trying to make it like WWE, where it's like you're forcing wrestlers to be sports entertainers. It's just like
he should have lots of taunts and work really safe offense and just have his like.
He could still be technical, but he's got to sports entertain it up a bit.
And have like your 5 moves that you always do in certain sequence, like stuff like that. But I mean, if you do that, that's not fun to watch either, right? So that's what we don't want. So it's
there's not really like a win here.
They've painted themselves into this corner, right? Either you lean into the sports entertainment, which is not why people are watching AEW, or you just keep doing what you're doing.
You kind of half-ass the gimmick.
Where you say you are, but you're not, right? So they've kind of like backed themselves into a corner with it, I think.
Right.
So yeah, I don't. And there's still a little bit of this for me. They tell me how amazing Garcia is in the ring, and I've really liked a couple of his matches.
He's good, but I don't.
He's still up and down for me, right? So I mean, I'm still waiting to see the real breakout match with him. I've seen some that I did quite enjoy, but they spend a lot of time telling me how amazing this kid is.
Right.
I just want to see it myself.
Yeah, for sure.
So Keith Lee and Swerve talked to Tony backstage briefly. Keith wants to annihilate Team Taz, basically. Swerve says that they may have lost the battle, but the war is far from over. Starks gets fired up.
They may have lost the battle, but they will win the next battle.
And Starks is fired up on commentary because he does commentary for Rampage.
Which I don't know why.
Says he has a check with Swerve and Lee's name on it, and that he's ready to cash it, I guess. I don't know. What'd you think of this?
I think I saw the promo from Lee and Swerve was solid, and then
at least they didn't get interrupted, right?
Yeah,
they actually got to talk. Is nice.
Yeah, and Stark was all right. I don't know why he's always on commentary. Like it's odd.
He's a good talker, and I don't know if they're
but
just.
I just think it's odd.
My note was just that basically I like the fact that this is a 1-hour show because I think it limits them having super lengthy promos, and there's very few segments or promos that I think need to be longer than a few minutes in wrestling. Like there's very rarely a 10 to 15 minute in-ring like promo segment that I find useful other than maybe MJF. So I like the fact that they just kind of have to keep things short on Rampage, right? So I had no problem with this. We then get yet another Hater, Britt, and Tony Storm little thing that they seem to be doing all the time. Storm starts out trying to insult Baker, and she says she'll see Hater soon and maybe Britt later if Britt actually makes it that far in this tournament. So I don't know. That was whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's what they've been doing. So
yep.
We get an FTR back and forth about their upcoming match against each other. Basically, the bottom line, they both agree that they want to do this match. It's super important to them, etc., etc. I thought it was good, and I'm really looking forward to the match. There's nothing outstanding. Just saying, like, yes, we're both okay with this match. Where there is no sort of tension between us. Stuff we talked about earlier, right? So this was good, I thought. You?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was all right. Nothing much.
No, nothing. And again, it's all super fast because they only have an hour and they're trying to squeeze 4 matches in, right?
They do like to do that now for some reason.
They do. I think 3 is the right number, but
right, because one of them always ends up being a squash.
Absolutely.
I think you did 2 in a squash.
Right. Mark Henry is doing his weekly thing with he's got Jade Cargill and Marina Shafir. Exactly. Jade kind of brushes off. Mark
she's
Henry
on her phone during this.
Acts like she doesn't even know who Marina Shafir is, which I kind of like. Sterling talks about being able to buy. So basically, big deal, Marina Shafir. You say you have a black belt. He's like, I have one too. I bought it for $20 off the internet. And he talks about already like planning for Jade's 30th win. So again, everybody is looking past Marina Shafir, and with good reason. Apparently, we're gonna find out. So. Marina, oh, that's not nice. I have Marina mumbles a few words. I didn't even make a note of what she said. And then Mark Henry says his catchphrase, and we head to the ring. So it is Play, aka Marina Shafir, taking on Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. I do like Marina Shafir's look and her nickname. The problem, it works for me. That's totally fine. She comes across as a badass so far. This match was really slow, right? Like there was a lot of move, walk around to the next move, which maybe protects both of them because maybe they're not ready to work faster than that, but it doesn't make for the most entertaining match for me sometimes. Early leg kicks by Shafir, and that's going to be one of the sort of themes here is a lot of her attacking the leg, but she gets caught and hit with the fall-away slam from Jade. We get a clothesline to the floor. The baddies are throwing popcorn on Shafir, and then they get some shots in on her as Sterling is distracting the ref on the other side. We get a back elbow and a back suplex by Cargill for 2. Jade poses a bit too long, and I even put Play in my notes. Play attacks Jade's leg some more. We get a submission applied by Play, but it's countered with a twisting power slam. Not quite the Tour of the Islands, but a little bit more than a normal power slam at least. Jade dominates through the picture-in-picture, including a couple of suplexes on the commercial. We're back to the leg by Shafir, leading to a knee bar. The crowd, I noticed at this point, is pretty dead for this match, and I don't really blame them. We get a judo flip to Sterling out on the floor by Shafir. The baddies, another distraction that leads to a Jade pump kick. Play gets chokeslammed onto the timekeeper's table. This looked like it might have hurt because she didn't get the middle of the table right. She got like over top of the legs, which I don't think there's the give there that you kind of count on the table.
And the table kind of like fell, but like...
So it looked like it could have hurt, actually.
For sure.
Just a minor detail Jade might want to next time get her in the middle of the table. But anyways, Jade tries to pin Shafir by standing on her and doing the double bicep pose, but Shafir takes her leg again instead. Jade ends up kicking her away and hits the Jaded and wins the match here. I can't say I love this. I thought it was really slow for the most part. I'm still interested in seeing more of Shafir because she looks pretty cool, especially against a more experienced opponent, right? Like, Jade's good for the amount she's wrestled, but is she like a technician? Can she lead a match? No. I don't think there were any like glaring mistakes here. It just wasn't very exciting, and I think the crowd seemed to agree with me. Like, I guess you would call this solid, but is it a main event title match that I really got excited for? No. Were there any major botches or mistakes? No, but it was just a very slow match. What did you think?
I thought it was okay. I don't understand. I think Play is just, she's all right. It wasn't much. I don't mind the interference of the baddies, but it was just kind of slow and just uninteresting. I didn't really care for it. And like, this is her 30th win. Like, there wasn't much different.
No, it really wasn't. It got like a bit more time, obviously, and they're extending Jade's match length, I guess, a bit, which is fine. And again, there were no super major glaring errors, which at the end of the day is what they want to see from Jade, right? Because she is brand new to this, so she's doing a good job, but is this like main event worthy? Probably not. Overall, didn't really love this episode. Cole Ishii opener I thought was excellent, and then it was just kind of tapered off from there. Kingston Garcia underdelivered. Jade Shafir was just okay. And then we got a Lance Archer squash match in less than a minute. So for me, I gave this episode of Rampage a C+, which is pretty low because I normally quite enjoy it.
Yeah, I thought the opener was pretty good. I didn't care for I didn't love the Eddie Kingston match. It was alright. Squash match was squash match. Women's main event was just like, that's your main event. That was not great for a main event.
It's like the show was backwards. They should have like done this as the opener and gone to Cole Ishii as the main event.
Yeah, it was okay, but I didn't love it. So I think a C+ is fair. Not the best Rampage, especially after the past couple of weeks. We've gotten some great stuff.
Worth checking out Cole Ishii, I thought, at least. If you haven't seen a lot of Ishii, he's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. That wraps up our Rampage, and we're gonna move next into talking about some other wrestling stuff in any other wrestling business. All right, so all I have for you in any other wrestling business is my usual NXT 2.0. I didn't watch anything else. I mean, I can tell you I watched Impact as much as I could say, which is I texted you while I was watching it. I watched Nunzio take on Matt Cardona, I think it was, right?
And yeah, Nunzio, right, because they were in like the Philly thing.
Right. So it was an ECW thing, and Nunzio looked kind of old and skinny, but in ring-wise, he looked like he worked okay, and then Morrissey came out, and Cardona and Myers got the better of him, and then Jordan Grace came out and made the save sort of thing, and that's all I really watched on Impact. But NXT, I watched the whole thing because I like to punish myself, I guess. And actually, because I made a note of it, you watched most of the first hour of this. Watched, quote unquote, you were in the room.
I did.
You were at the kitchen table while I was watching.
Oh.
So I subjected you to some of this.
I did. I forgot.
So it starts out with a recap of last week's gauntlet match, which was tag team gauntlet match, and also the storyline that was so great of Gacy having Rick Steiner's Hall of Fame ring, which apparently is more upsetting than his father being abducted. But anyways, right. So Pretty Deadly head to the ring right away, and then they split screen to Braun Breaker entering the building. Pretty Deadly are being them obnoxious selves in a good way. bragging about coming to the US and how easy it was to win the tag team championships in NXT. The grizzled young veterans, can't call them that anymore. This is where we noticed right away, because we're like, even their, because they
love to go like GYV.
Right. So it's now just Gibson, is Gibson's names first or last, was it? Yeah.
I think Gibson Drake is how it goes.
So they interrupt anyways, and Gibson claims that the only reason Pretty Deadly were successful in NXT UK was because the grizzled young veterans left, and the only reason that Pretty Deadly won the gauntlet last week was because the veterans weren't in it, which I like the both of those lines, right? Like that is
fair point.
Right? I thought those were very good points and well said by Gibson here. Legado then come out, and they Lopez says that they want a tag title shot too, and then everybody starts to brawl.
That's all she said, which I thought was
Braun Breaker makes his way to the ring as they sort of are doing the segments overlapping again, which I actually don't mind. It does make the show feel a bit frantic at times, but I like the idea
also creates
of it.
A bit of a flow, I guess, like,
and it makes it feel like everything is not quite so scripted, right? Where people are sort of overlapping. But so Breaker calls out Gacy, who shows up on the screens only and laughs for far too long, and then it just cuts to commentary standing by ringside. So there was no real follow-up to this. Braun calls out Gacy laughs maniacally on screen, move on. So I liked Pretty Deadly and the veterans' interaction, especially Gibson's lines, as I mentioned there. And then things did get frantic. Gacy, and you noticed it too, right? He's become Bray Wyatt, basically, at this point.
Right, yeah.
I don't think there's any denying that they're going down the Bray Wyatt path, which I don't really like it. But I will say that the NXT tag division is actually pretty interesting right now on NXT. It's one of the more interesting things. We then get Santos Escobar talking about Carmelo Hayes, says that Hayes has a lot of excuses and that Hayes has never been worthy of being champion, but Escobar is, and he will send Hayes to the back of the line. So a fine little promo from Escobar, nothing special. Hayes gets to react to this right away. He says he created that line, referring to the line that Escobar says he needs to go to the back of, and that he'll take care of Santos tonight, and then Grimes on his Getting Back the Gold tour. So I thought they both did a good job here. I'm fine with this feud. I think Escobar as a babyface is kind of due. The crowd seems to want to cheer for him.
I think that's kind of odd, but then again, I don't watch.
Right. A simple feud over who's better and who should be the number one contender is simple and believable, right? So that's kind of the things I like, and two things that WWE and NXT really struggle with is just keep it simple. I think I'm awesome. You think you're awesome. We both think we should be the number one contender, so we're going to fight. Like, that is simple storytelling 101, and it usually works for me. We then get Tiffany Stratton versus Sarray, and I remember before this started me telling you that I kind of like Tiffany Stratton, and you looking at me like, pardon? But for her experience level and what they've given her, honestly, she's good. So did you notice there was no Sarray transformation today?
I did not.
Oh,
wait, no, I remember now.
She just came to the ring in her, whatever it is, Goddess of the Sun or whatever. Is that her nickname?
Warrior of the Sun.
Warrior of the Sun. Something like that. German suplex double stomp off the second rope and signature dropkick into the ropes by Sarray. And then we get, long story short, twisting Vader bomb by Stratton for the win in 4.5 minutes. Or as my notes say, 4.5 minutes. Why didn't it pick that up as not a word? Interesting. I thought this was actually totally fine considering Stratton's inexperience, right? She's clearly athletically gifted. She's making the most out of a character that I don't think has a lot of potential or a very long shelf life. This whole spoiled daddy's girl gimmick. But I see more in her to compare her to other people on the roster than I do like Von Wagner and Zion Quinn, right? Like, I think Stratton has more potential than them because she seems to be capable of doing a bit of character work, and those two are not. Like, they should not speak at this point, basically. But if Stratton continues to improve, I think WWE could have something here. My fear is they move her up to main roster too quickly. She doesn't quite develop as much as she needs to, and then she just gets lost in the shuffle there, because that seems to be what happens regularly, right? Downside, do you think this is a ringing endorsement of how they feel about Sarray? Right?
Yeah, I mean, she started out good, and now it's just kind of like...
I don't think this is good news for her, right? This feels like she's getting like the Kushida treatment. We thought we were bringing you over and we're going to try and hype you up a little bit, and then we're not really that thrilled with you, and we're not big. So she now has lost twice to Stratton, right? I thought this was supposed to be, because remember, Stratton attacked her before she could make her transformation and beat up schoolgirl Saray.
Right.
So this, you would think, would be because WWE loves the 50-50 booking, but no, she still loses in 4 minutes to Stratton. So interesting. Neither match, I don't think, went past 5 minutes. So not a ringing endorsement for Saray. Grizzled Young Veteran, still going to call him that, are walking backstage. Braun Breaker walks past them because he's looking for Joe Gacy. Braun, this is so stupid. Were you still around for this part?
I don't know.
Where Braun hears his dad's voice, follows the sound.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's coming from a tablet that is in the cage that his dad was locked in weeks ago. So I thought that he was going to end up locked in the same cage, but he didn't. So anyways, Gacy's voice eventually comes on, talks about family again, and seeing if he can teach this old dog new tricks. And did you notice that the tablet wasn't on?
No, I didn't.
Because Braun sort of turned it too far towards the camera at one point, and you could see it was like a dark screen. But anyways, Braun gets mad, smashes the tablet, and walks out. So this is going to be a recurring thing on this show, and I don't like it. It keeps Braun from talking too much, I guess, which is a positive. But just as I'm saying, I like the realistic, simple stories being told in the tag division in NXT right now, and between Hayes and Escobar, this is the exact opposite of that, and generally not what I enjoy in wrestling. You can't just keep abducting people with no consequences and taking over TV screens and Trons and things. Again, it's budget Bray Wyatt right now. And I was not a fan of Bray Wyatt main roster. In NXT when he was doing the like Waylon Mercy sort of gimmick, I thought he was super cool. And when
Fiend.
When that started, right, the
beginning of that was good.
Was very cool, and then it basically, I think, got further and further away from Bray Wyatt's vision and got really stupid. But anyways, this mostly bores me, maybe because they're really dragging this out, and we all know at the end of the day, there is no way Joe Gacy is winning this championship, right? So all of these mind games and all of this kidnapping and stuff he's doing is going to be for no reason at the end of the day. And so seeing him get his comeuppance is not going to be interesting to me. Pretty Deadly are walking backstage, run into Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta. Indy they both briefly flirt a little bit and try and set up a match. Pretty Deadly are confused and think that they're suggesting a match against Indy and Persia, but of course it's the old switcheroo and they meant Loomis and Hudson. So Pretty Deadly are a little bit non-committal about this and they end up leaving. So I like Pretty Deadly. They have come a long way, are in a good heel team. So I hate to see them tangled up with this group who everything they do is just not interesting to me. And again, we're back to Indy and Persia have just dropped all the issues that went on for weeks and are just fine with each other now, right? And so now apparently their boyfriends that hated each other are just magically a cohesive tag team now. So this is just what NXT does. They leave out so many details and so much storytelling. It just gets frustrating. They just jump from one character to another and turn from hating each other to liking each other, and they just leave out the middle parts of stories. You get like the beginning and the end, and that's it, and nothing in the middle, and it's really annoying. Grayson Waller tells us he was committed to his plan to fake his injury of his arm to win a championship, but it was Sanga's fault that blew it. So they've been a team for 2 weeks, and now they're turning on each other as well. Andre Chase and Bodie, what's his name? Bodie Hayward? Nice. They interrupt and mock Waller for making excuses. They argue, and Sanga shows up, and Waller runs away. But he runs right to the ring for the match, and it's Sanga versus Waller. Sanga throws Waller around a bit. Waller eventually runs Sanga into the ring post, which I thought Sanga did a poor job of selling in general. Waller hits his rolling cutter and wins this match in just over
3 minutes. I thought it was a stunner.
Well, whatever, rolling, stunner, cutter. Pretty much what you'd expect here. Nothing special from Sanga. Big man offense 101 and a 3-minute match. At least Waller won. And basically clean because I was a little nervous that he wouldn't. Cora Jade speaks awkwardly about her history as a kid with Natalya. Natty is wrong about Jade's future being bleak, and her only dream now is to kick Natty's legendary ass. Really short, at least, thankfully.
I hated that. It just sounded unnatural.
She sounds awful, right?
Well, it just
And
sounds
it's
like
even worse because
she's trying to be like angry at her, but she's like, "Oh my God, you're such a legend. I respect you." And it's like it doesn't work.
And it's weird because I think she's talking about real stuff in terms of like meeting Natty and all this, but she sounds so uncomfortable talking.
So unauthentic
Her
that
delivery is
if it
bad.
was actually falsified photos, I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised.
Then we get, you saw this too, Roxanne, her backstory, which is basically she had a rough childhood and her escape was playing WWE video games, and people told her that creating herself in the game would be the closest she would ever get to being in WWE. So she's proving all of those people wrong. So next week she's going to step out of the video game and into real life. And she's shown briefly speaking to Mackenzie before Toxic Attraction interrupt. They're rude to her, of course, and they want Roxanne to wrestle tonight. So we're moving up the debut. Roxanne says she'll figure something out, and she leaves. So the first thing I noticed is I thought this was an odd placement because don't you think the Roxanne story and the Jade story were kind of similar to have them like back to back?
Yeah.
Like as a young kid, as a wrestling fan, right? And then
I did
take
this.
2.
Right. It's just like Roxy played video games instead of drawing in a notebook.
Right. So it's kind of like give this some space between it or wait till next week. To be fair, I really like Roxy. I don't think she sounded great here either, but at least I know she's better in the ring than Cora Jade, in my opinion, at least. So I thought this was fine, but I think you disliked it too. They did this with Nikita Lyons, the dramatic reenactment, right? So as she's describing her childhood, they have some kid actor like playing. It just seems so cheesy to me.
It's like
just have her tell the story.
It's like a movie flashback.
Or if you have actual pictures of her, great, but like
right, like they actually used Roxy at the end. Yeah, do that, but I don't need the kid.
And they did that with Nikita Lyons when we were getting all of her backstory, and I thought it was annoying then too. Then we get Legado del Fantasma. This is where we notice the name change because they're still calling them Legado del Fantasma on the graphic, but then it said Drake and Gibson, and it was Drake first.
Right.
So we're like, oh, they've dropped not only their team name but their first names too.
But then I'm gonna check their website again. I have to
see
check
if it's
again.
updated. So Gibson and Drake have lost their names, I guess. Apparently,
we'll see.
Russian leg sweep, kick to the head finisher by Legado for the win in 4 minutes. I didn't really pull any other highlights out of it. Escobar then speaks to Hayes after the match, says he will handle his business in their match, which will be next.
Now, so see, I'm at like the DRs right now. Like I'm at like Drew Gulak, Drew McIntyre, Draco Anthony. Still not there.
Nice.
Weird.
So actually, for a 4-minute match, this was pretty fast paced. We did have one top rope botch by Wild. I think he was going to the outside and was kind of short on it. But it was too short to be very impactful of a match. It looks like they're trying to heat up Legado, which is going to be tough, right? It's like kind of what I said about Ziggler. You've spent so much time showing me that this team are like a lower card team that look good but never win. So if you're now going to turn around and tell me they're like contenders for the tag titles, it's hard to sort of believe at this point. And I think the Grizzled Young Veterans are drastically underused in NXT. And I guess as I talked about in the news, it looks like it's part of some sort of story. And it's not a surprise because they're veterans and NXT 2.0 has no place for veterans at this point. So you either are going to put over young people or you need to go somewhere else. So Wes Lee, all by himself now, since What's-His-Face has been fired. He's talking to Mackenzie. He says things have been chaotic and he feels lost. Zion Quinn interrupts. Oh, that was something I wanted to point out. The number of interruptions again on this show. It was like constant interruptions. So Quinn interrupts and says that Lee didn't run it straight. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And then Wes Lee says, I don't know what that means. I was like, thank you, Wes Lee. Neither does anyone else. Quinn says he'll teach Lee a lesson. Lee says that he's at home in the ring and beating Quinn might bring him some peace. So I actually liked Wes Lee because it wasn't goofy like Matt Riddle pot-smoking Wes Lee. He was a little more serious here, and I kind of prefer it. And Zion Quinn still sounds awful, and he said next to nothing here. He just sounds so wooden to me. But anyways.
Wooden.
We are shown that Henley Fallon attacked Elektra Lopez.
Fallon Henley.
Oh, sorry. Or is that right?
Yes.
Whatever. She attacked Elektra Lopez during the break. Sure, why not? And then we get Carmelo Hayes taking on Santos Escobar here. Wade Barrett. So this is how you know the face turn has happened, because Wade Barrett now disagrees with everything Escobar does.
Right.
Right.
Even
So
though, like, that's how I know with like Corey Graves. I
yes.
remember with Elias, because he used to like
Right.
always sing Elias's praise, and then he's like everything Elias does is stupid, and then
Yes.
he's like flip flopping, and it's like that's your tell.
That's
right?
the final tell that he is in fact going face. We get a nice drop kick from Escobar. He's in control early. Trick grabs Escobar's ankle at one point, and that kind of shifts the momentum to Hayes' favor. We get an awkward double clothesline spot. Both men are down. Carmelo is selling his lower back. He struggles to apply a single leg crab to Escobar. We get a very delayed vertical suplex by Escobar, and then his signature suicide dive to the outside. And then two men in suits and fedoras. Did you see this?
I did, but...
So they show up and take out Escobar with the crowbar as the ref is distracted for a very long time.
Oh, I get it
here,
now.
Right? They throw Escobar back into the ring, and Hayes hits his top rope leg drop, which does look pretty good almost every time. And this match is over. Hayes and Trick speak after the match, and Grimes interrupts. And this is where I have my question. Is every speaking segment interrupted tonight, or is it just me? And I think pretty much the answer is yes here. Grimes says that in 2 weeks at spring break, Hayes can have his match.
Spring breaking.
Solo Sikoa shows up in the ring, takes out Hayes, stares down Grimes, and says he's got next, even though he just had a match for the title and lost it. But right back in line, I guess. I thought this was a good match, as expected, and the finish kind of killed it. There was a lull in the middle. There was a lengthy submission from Hayes, but otherwise this was pretty quick, solid back and forth TV match. Easily the match of the night up to this point. Cheesy finish, though. The result makes sense, I guess, because Hayes can go after the North American title again, because he wasn't pinned to lose it, right? If I remember correctly.
No one was pinned to lose it.
Oh, right, it was a ladder. So yeah, he can claim he was never pinned. And Escobar now gets to continue his program.
I hope he wasn't pinned to lose it.
He continues his program with Tony D'Angelo. Yay, I guess. And at least D'Angelo, because what I was saying, right?
I saw the post about the mystery attackers and I was confused, but now that you mentioned the crowbar, I'm like, oh.
Right, and I was complaining before because Tony D'Angelo's this Don and he's this mafia boss, which means you're this head of a large family of organized crime, and he's never with anybody. So, like, you're the Don, but you're always alone, other than bringing that guy who I didn't know who he was.
Something.
Yeah, that guy.
Wasn't it AJ something?
So, yes. So, at least he has people now, I guess. And I actually thought Sikoa looked pretty cool coming in here and taking out people and staring down Grimes. I thought that was kind of good. And I like that there's all kinds of people that want the North American title. So, honestly, the tag team scene and the North American title scene, I think, are pretty good right now. It's the women's title and the big belt that, like, what's going on?
Big belt.
Right. So Braun, guess what? He's still looking for Joe Gacy, and we need more segments of this. So he comes out of an elevator backstage and sees a door, and he hears creepy sounds. So he heads towards the door. Did you see this? This is like so main roster. So he opens the door to the room, and it turns out to be full of mirrors. How scary. So Gacy creepily appears in the mirror behind Braun, but is somehow gone when Braun turns around. Braun is furious and yells, "Where are you?" And we are now officially supernatural adjacent, right?
Supernatural. Let's go. That's adjacent. Your favorite.
I'm not saying full magic yet, but we're getting there, and I'm out already. And I hope Bray Wyatt doesn't see this. Is this his intellectual property that is being sort of stolen here? Fairly blatantly at this point. We move to Diamond Mine. Bivens is on the phone apparently talking to Ivy Nile and telling her she's been sent to NXT UK to represent Diamond Mine, as Roddy adds to dominate as he hits a heavy bag in the background. So this is like their way of being like, Ivy Nile's gone to NXT UK is half of a phone conversation with Bivens. Anyways, Roddy then tells Bivens that Strong is the leader of the Diamond Mine, and he won't see another group crumble. Ooh, reference to Undisputed Era there. He will make examples out of people if they don't agree with his vision for Diamond Mine. So, again, cheap way to explain Nile's absence, but whatever. And Roddy did his best here. It's like, oh, good try, bud. But he just can't do a good promo after all these years. But on the plus side, this seems to mean we're going to get like a more intense, aggressive Roddy, which I am very fine with. In general, having Bivens and Roddy in a segment together and having Roddy say more than Bivens is a bad idea going forward, NXT, because I know you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Natalya takes on Tatum Paxley.
Oh, remember I told you about this. You were pretty excited.
Yeah, definitely. Natty is definitely the funniest part of this for me, is she's not getting the heel reaction they want her to. She's actually getting more cheers than boos. So either they're stopped piping in their sound, or they felt like they couldn't override the cheering. So it didn't sound like she was a heel here. So we get cat and mouse.
Just like Cora Jade.
Yes. Cat and mouse stuff leading to a discus clothesline on the floor and a snap suplex by Natalya also on the floor. Surfboard by Natty, final flurry by Paxley, including a suplex and a flipping senton, before a sharpshooter by Natty to pick up the win in about 5 minutes. So good for Tatum Paxley. She got more than the 3-minute standard, right? So they must have big plans for her. She got 5 minutes. It's amazing. Really felt like a training match to start, like that they had planned the first couple minutes entirely. Paxley showcased some athleticism here. She got in a few flurries. An enhancement match that was meant to further establish Natalya as a heel, but I don't think it really did. The crowd was definitely behind her, and
Which is weird. She's also a heel on the main roster, I believe.
She didn't really use any heel tactics here. I guess she only had 5 minutes, but the heel part was not strengthened, I didn't think, by this match. Tony D'Angelo cuts a promo in the parking lot. He claims Escobar's attackers were not affiliated with him, okay, even though they dressed the same and were using a crowbar. And he makes note of Legato's car parked nearby. So my only note is mercifully very short. Nathan Frazier vignette might have been the same as last week, or very similar. He's coming to NXT 2.0 next week. Indy Hartwell's backstage with Loomis and Hudson, wants to know Hudson's pant size so that he and Loomis can wear matching gear. She wants Hudson to wear blue jeans, I guess. Hudson tries to game plan a bit, but Indy keeps answering for Loomis despite Loomis's stoic expression. Indy accuses Duke of not communicating with Loomis. You're not communicating with the guy who's never spoken a word. This is stupid. Hudson gets mad and leaves. This is awful. They need to end this alliance and I feel worse for Indy Hartwell. Let her do something else. She's been trapped in this, the way stuff and this stuff. I even think Persia Pirotta has potential, but this angle is just an anchor for them. Like, they need to get away from this and do something else. But anyways, Wesley takes on Zion Quinn. That match starts immediately after this. Lee dominates with his quickness and high-risk offense early on. Quinn takes over by dropping Lee on the apron. One final flurry for enhancement talent Wes Lee with a series of kicks before he slips coming off the ropes. Takes a forearm from Quinn. This definitely did not go the way that Wesley wanted it to. He kind of jumped off the ropes, but he slipped, so he landed short and then had to walk into the forearm instead of I think taking it out of midair sort of thing. Finishing leaping elbow by Quinn, and he wins in
under 3 minutes.
Wow, we got 3.5. You're close. So
wow, long match there.
Yikes, Wes Lee, right? This does not bode well for you. You get your first singles match since your partner left, and you lose to a rookie basic big man in 3 minutes. And Quinn looked the same as he always does, which is meh, to use a word. Natalya talks to Mackenzie about, I get exhausted just recapping NXT because it's just
imagine
there's nothing good coming up.
Well, there's a lot, but then there's also nothing.
It's 2 hours of mediocrity at best. It's a lot. Natty claims she was acting in self-defense last week. I don't even remember what she's referring to. Who cares?
Because she randomly attacked Cora Jade.
Right. She basically says she's tired of putting younger talent over on the main roster, so she came back here to strike first.
Exposing the business.
Nikita Lyons shows up and interrupts. Of course she does, because we can't have a segment without an interruption.
It's a dream segment for you.
She's coming for Natty once Lyons is done with Lash. So from one dream match to the next for Nikita Lyons. Natty says Lyons will know what to do when she's in the sharpshooter, and Lyons says not to worry because she's flexible. And the crowd went woo, oh, flexible. Sexual innuendo, awesome.
On a show targeted heavily to kids.
Right. Actually, a fine interaction, maybe the best Lyons has sounded outside of her early, pre-produced, recorded vignettes, so fine, whatever. Recap of Von Wagner throwing Jiro into the front row at the behest of Sophia, whatever her name is that I can never remember. Von has been suspended again. Do you remember the last time he got suspended?
Got bought out or whatever.
In a week, the next week he was back, because this was the start of Stone Alliance, right? So. Right. It didn't matter last time, so what's the difference this time? I don't know. Anyways, we get Roxanne Perez. She has a last name now. Nice. Taking on JC Jane.
Roxy Perez.
The crowd is chanting Roxy right away, and I think that's why Roxanne's a smart choice, because when they do get the inevitable Roxy chants, they can be like, that's short for Roxanne, right?
Right, and I feel like it's like, it is a smart choice because I feel like it's somewhat recognizable. Like, you go to Roxy to Roxanne, and then, but it's also something like that's different enough they can be like, that's our name.
They'll trademark it, yes.
Right. Because I feel like if they go Roxy Perez, like, for example, it's like still Roxy. So
it sounds exactly the same, right?
So I feel like this is like, it's a smart name. It's like, it's not like bad either.
Yep. Chop exchange, trading near falls and roll ups to start. Roxy's on offense till a super kick from JC Jane. Wendy Chu shows up on the Tron, and she has trashed the Toxic Lounge, so even the matches are getting interrupted on this week's show. So this distraction, guess what? It allows Roxy to hit the code red and pick up the win in just over 2 minutes. Roxy wins, I guess, but again, this was more about the angle than the match. Wendy Chu in her pajamas trashing the Toxic Lounge. This is all ridiculous. Legado are mad in the parking lot, but their SUV has been booted. Do you know what that means? And they put those big yellow metal boots so you can't
there was
drive
the
away.
Goldberg's episode.
So they've been booted, and a dead fish is on the windshield, and Santos says it's obvious who did this because this is more cliched mobster crap. And I feel bad for Escobar having to react to all of this stuff. Gacy is watching Braun on a surveillance camera like Sliver, if any of you are old enough to remember that movie, and says that it's time he ends this. Cool. So we get the main event, which is Hudson and Loomis taking on Pretty Deadly, because of course a tag team that's just been made deserves a title shot when there's lots of teams more deserving.
Well, I mean, they were supposed to be in the gauntlet, so...
Right. Pretty Deadly isolate Loomis early, hit a splash leg drop combination. All 4 men are in the ring. Pretty Deadly slide out to the floor, put their arms around Hartwell and Parada, who are surprised at this happening, which I think is a callback to some Shawn Michaels thing from the past. Loomis gets in a flurry on Wilson before a delayed double suplex by Loomis and Hudson. Later, the heels double team Loomis some more. Wilson hits a neck breaker. Loomis finally slithers away to make the tag. Hudson dominates both Pretty Deadly for a little bit here. Loomis and Wilson end up on the floor. Hudson hits a power slam to Prince for a near fall. Hudson knocks Wilson off the apron, but unfortunately turns right around into a running boot from Elton Prince, and Pretty Deadly retain their championships after 12 minutes in the main event here. Kind of main event. Final match, I guess we can say, because we got to go back to our 4th or 5th installment of Gacy in a minute.
Right.
But anyways, this match...
Oh, it's like the 3-part segment, except...
I think there's 4 on this one. We're
going...
At least 3
on it.
Yep. Good but not great. Solid main event. Hudson and Loomis have just kind of been thrown together. Kind of doesn't make a lot of sense because they and their spouses, significant others, have not been getting along for weeks, but I guess we've just moved past that, of course. Not much story behind this match at all, which hurts it, of course. Everyone did a decent job, but it wasn't anything special, I did not think. So to end the show, Joe Gacy appears high up in the crowd, much like MJF did on Dynamite this week, says that Breaker has been looking for him all night. Yes, we are aware. We have seen multiple segments to that effect, but thank you for clarifying. Braun comes out, beeline straight for Gacy. Gacy, this is so stupid. Gacy offers to return the ring under one condition. He gets a title match at Spring Break.
Spring Breakin'.
Breaker agrees.
With a K.
And Gacy puts the ring into Braun's pocket. Is it not actually Spring Breakin', is it?
It is.
It is?
I thought it was
I thought
Spring
you were
Break
just
too.
being a smart aleck. But
No,
it is.
I thought it was Spring Break too, and then I saw it was Spring Break, and I'm like, oh, of course it is.
Awesome. Gacy says that Braun needs to take a leap of faith, and he just pushes Braun off the platform out of sight. So one of those where you see the push, but you don't see the landing, right? Because he landed on some giant pillow or something, probably.
But aren't there fans there? I guess it's taping. So.
Yes. So Braun is writhing on the floor in pain, and then is descended upon by several people in dark robes to end the show as Gacy looks on smiling. So now
Undertaker,
we're
Bray Wyatt.
going to steal some.
We're going a bit Undertaker. We're just
right.
We're gonna
right.
pool it. It's like he's a supernatural character. Like he's just pooling it from.
So
different
they're just, for me, they're taking all the supernatural and packing it together in one disgusting package. All right. So Braun chases Gacy around all night. Finally gets him, gets in his face, and does nothing. So Braun Breaker, who's this super fighting, brawling dude. This man kidnapped his father, stole his dad's ring, and has been tormenting him. He gets within arm's length of him and doesn't lay a finger on him. seems very out of character for Braun Breaker.
Yeah,
makes absolutely no sense.
I guess he has his ring back.
And he just stood there, like, waiting to get pushed off of this thing, right? It was so obvious.
Yeah. Did he get pushed off the belt? Did the belt get destroyed?
No.
Damn it.
So he just wanted the ring back that badly, right? He doesn't want to hit the guy who kidnapped and tied up his father. I thought Braun looked really stupid standing here, basically waiting to be pushed off this platform. And then the Druids, or more of this supernatural adjacent stuff that I just can't stand. This is a really bad feud. Gacy, who I was interested in for a while, has taken a major step back, and they've just kind of gone with, we don't know where to go with this woke character we were experimenting with, so let's just go Bray Wyatt 2.0 with him.
Right.
They've sort of just bailed on anything original and creative and gone back to what they're comfortable with, which is this garbage. Rough episode of NXT this week. The Breaker Gacy stuff is just awful in my opinion, and it was woven throughout this episode. A giant miss for me, as is anything involving Indy Hartwell and her crew right now, or Tony D'Angelo. Again, not the fault of the talent, fault of the stuff they're being given to work with. Escobar Hayes match was good, but they went with a stupid ending for that. The main event was solid, but everything else was the usual 3 to 5 minute enhancement crap. So not a strong episode in ring at all. On the plus side,
well, I am shocked.
Right? On the plus side, I do think the tag division's interesting, right? Because you've got a few teams. You've got the Creeds doing the chase still for the titles. You've got Pretty Deadly. You've got, even if you want Briggs and Jensen as like sort of your brawler, okay tag team. And Legado can sort of flesh out that division too. So there's something going on there. And the North American title scene is okay as well. But like I was saying, the women's title and the main title, they're not really doing anything or anything of interest at this point. So I thought this was worse than the past few weeks because it seemed like they'd settled into, I kind of like the opener and I like the main event, but that was not the case this week really for me. So I gave it a D+, which if you're American by Canadian grades, that's about, like, I would say a 5 3/4 out of 10 if I were to rate it. So it passes, but barely. And that brings me to the end
Ringing endorsements.
Right? Any other wrestling business? I don't think we have Figuring It Out this week.
No.
Nothing new released.
Other than I'm just eyeing on Outrun Collectibles. I found out that they are based out of Toronto.
Awesome. Do they have a brick and mortar store or just online?
I think I'm saying like they have an address and it's in Toronto.
So we may have to hit it sometime.
Yeah, and I want to get that Darby Allin.
So, and
cool.
The only other thing from Figuring It Out is I was in a random Walmart near my sister's place, and there was a decent amount of AEW figures.
Yeah,
there,
we're
right?
starting to get unmatched figures, which I like because we're getting Unmatched Series 1, which is how I got my favorite Kenny.
Right, that you're holding right now.
Yeah, and so that's cool because I think there will be, like, we're always a bit behind because, like, I think they're on Unmatched Series 3 right now, which is the Dark Order set.
Yep.
But and I only have Unmatched 2 Proud and Powerful because of Christmas order, but so those are starting to hit. I've seen like
there was a bunch there.
Some of the LJ and Cody.
Yeah.
There is also a Walmart exclusive variant of the LJ and Cody in white and red instead of white and blue, but I haven't seen that yet. So we're starting to get more. Yeah.
And there was a cool Escobar basic. There
from Halloween Havoc 2020 when he wore the Rey Mysterio tights and the Day of the Dead face paint.
So that's our bit of figuring it out, I guess. We just wedged it on the end.
Wedged it in because there's not really a
and
real
I won't
one.
Put the kids cheering leading up to it. But
Yeah.
So that's going to bring us to the end of episode 92, I guess. And I don't think there's anything in the horizon. There is an Impact show, I think, tonight, but I can't imagine I'll watch it live or want to talk about it. So I think...
Why don't you watch with your high school buddies? I'm sure they'd want to.
They do not. I'm the only person I know that watches wrestling, and you're the only other one across from me. None of them would be interested, I don't think. Although a couple of them might listen to the show just to support us. I know Stit does. I don't know if anybody else does, but... Paul does the odd time as well. He's supposed to be there tonight. But anyways, enough about my personal life. We will definitely be back here next Saturday for episode 93. We hope to see you back here. Bring some other people along with us. If you like the show, tell somebody. Post a link to it somewhere. It would really help us out a lot. But anyways, I think that's going to be it. So we'll see you back here next Saturday. And until then, take care.